And I think, we believe that on the football field, iron sharpens iron. You know how coaches always come out after games and say we just got to execute better? What does that mean? It means everyone's got to do exactly what they're supposed to do. So I think the players appreciate that the coaches get held accountable. I think they appreciate when I say I'm wrong, and ultimately, I'll get held accountable. So, again, we are, and we really strive to be, we are a caring, not coddling environment. I say that to the guys all the time. Caring, not coddling. We are where top producers go to be with other top producers. We want to be with the best of the best. And so if we have a bunch of coaches who are sensitive and coaching staffs who argue with each other, then that's what the players are going to do. So the best thing we can do is just model what it means to be a Lion out there.
It's one of the greatest ever.
So much to unpack just in one 15-minute interview. It's Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. Alongside my guy, Damon Benning, back in the chair. I'm Andrew Rogers. We are live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club. Live breakfast. Come eat. Tail out here to Hail Varsity Club. On the menu, corned beef hash.
Corned beef hash. Yeah. You adult you. One of my favorites.
I've never had it.
Really? Mm-mm. Spectacular. But I'm biased because, full disclosure, I love corned beef. I feel like I'm not loving the audio. Like, is it echoing for me, or is that just because
it's just out over the speakers for everyone to hear?
Well, we got to figure that out. Does it need to be so loud in here? Or maybe I need to get over myself. I have a thing for corned beef, and I like like breakfast potatoes. So I've probably had corned beef hash a lot of places around town. I like to break an egg over it.
Okay.
A couple of over easy or sunny side up. I can do either or. I'll even go scrambled with some cheese if I'm in a pinch, and about 15 pieces of bacon, and I'm good.
A lot of variety.
I could eat it a lot. Corned beef is like my go-to lunch meat.
Not me.
No, not so much.
I don't think we really had corned beef growing up in the house.
Yeah.
It was present on St. Patty's Day, obviously. But outside of that, it was, the lunch meat in the house was turkey, it was ham, and maybe roast beef on occasion.
All American. Yeah. Roast beef with Spurgeon. Good roast beef right now at deli stores is like $10.99 a pound. Some are $11. Expensive. But I learned did I show you on TikTok how I'm making a roast beef, the lunch meat, out of roast?
No.
I can do it at home. Yeah, so they use rump roast.
Okay.
Low smoke. They seasoned it. It wasn't overly complicated. Thin sliced, let it sit, and it basically was, you can use top round, bottom round.
Deli.
Yeah. And you can get rump roast for like $3 a pound.
Let's go.
Well, I
need you to smoke it.
I got like 4 in my freezer. I got you. Are you eating? What's the Easter menu meal? Are you ham? Are you roast beef? Are you turkey? Are you,
I don't know if
salmon croquette.
I don't know if we have an Easter menu meal. Like, we do breakfast.
Yeah.
But that's about it.
Like, that's okay. Got your own tradition.
So breakfast.
No Easter ham dinner for you?
No.
Really, you're like Mr. Traditional. That's kind of cool that you're throwing me for a curveball.
I don't even know the last time that I really celebrated Easter dinner with my family, though.
Yeah, because you haven't been home for a long time. I haven't been home
for like 4 years.
Selfish.
Hey. When they didn't come up to see me, yeah, exactly. No, so we're doing French toast tomorrow morning. My dad found this recipe online. He's kind of like us. Like, hey,
I'm telling you, Barry and I have some similarities.
We're going to execute it when we get up there. So we're going to break out the skillet and griddle is what
we have a play series. Skittles.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I won't tell you what it means, but it's called that.
Well, I don't want to know because I don't want you giving away secrets. And then
iron sharpens iron.
And then Sunday we're doing breakfast too. A big breakfast before they leave.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I would always prefer breakfast. So is it just me? Because driving back yesterday from Madison, you get a chance to listen. It's eerie, right? Coach, whether it's Coach Rhule, Coach Barthel, Coach White, I either sometimes feel like my house is bugged or I'll just hear what I want to hear, because I feel like my man just hit the iron sharpens irons quote. What I always used to say is, with the staff and players, I said, sometimes iron sharpens irons. I said, sometimes you do get friction though.
Because iron sharpens iron.
But it's not long lasting. And my man dropped the iron sharpens iron reference yesterday. The caring, not coddling, loving guys through. You can say anything you want to somebody if they know it comes from a place of caring. I'm like, oh.
Yeah, your house isn't bugged. You guys just have the same personality. And when I listen to Rhule, I feel like I'm sitting next to you.
It's crazy. It's I don't know. It makes me it's exciting.
It's exciting
about that.
It is. It's hard not to gravitate towards
it. I really mean when I sat down and listened to a 14-minute press conference.
There was a lot.
And it took me an hour and a half. My brother looked over at me after I finally finished with Rhule. I still had 4 more videos I wanted to watch last night. He goes, dude, you were watching that for a long time. I'm like, I paused almost after every one of his sound bites and thought, this man's the king of analogies.
Yeah.
This man's the king of examples.
I got the eye roll in the car. Like, we're just not going to listen to music, or are we just going to do? We did pressers and the Masters yesterday. That was it. That was.
Why aren't they plugging in their own music?
That was it. Like,
or just kind of kick it here. Who knows? Like watch the Masters like I'll do. So
this dude, he's wild. He talks to you. It's like what I would say to if we were at Papio Pub, right?
Good drop.
They're the conversations we would have.
Mm-hmm.
Just matter of fact, kind of. But there was definitely, I think, an agenda to yesterday's presser, because he was on a heater.
Back to back.
Yeah.
To back. To back.
He was on a heater.
I also wonder if Coach Rhule listens. Like, and not to us by any means.
It seems crazy.
But I almost wonder if he just listens to the outside noise a little bit, and then he's able to then address certain things.
It's too coincidental.
People are, running around the mill with.
Is it?
No, I don't.
Jordan?
I don't say anything about it. I just don't know.
It is Jordan. Not LeBron.
I don't even know who you're talking about. What are you talking about? LeBron James?
LeBron James.
I'm not a LeBron James fan.
No, I know, Art. I know.
No, so the first thing he said was, we're here to change the expectation level of these guys.
Hey, Shane, what clip number is that? Because that's how Shane likes to operate. I can't see, so.
And I
didn't
due diligence.
Is it clip 2?
Could be. Let's play it.
Yeah, I think it's individual to each guy, right? It takes what it takes, and so there's some one of the most dangerous things is when guys kind of know what to do, so they can kind of do it. Like, you can't figure out how to do your job until you know what your job is, and so we have a lot of guys still at that level 1, like trying to learn what it is, and we can make excuses for them, but we're just trying to change the expectation level of our guys, right? Like, we're not here to try hard. We're not here to lose and thank the fans. We're here to win. So winning, it happens now. It doesn't happen in the fall. So
it's the greatest clip of the day, and there were several.
There were at least 5, but that one was the biggest one, and it was right out of the gate.
We're not here to thank the fans.
Yeah, we're not here just to go out there and get a participation trophy, just to be out on the football field, to play in front of, thousands of people.
Hey, so I'm sick a little bit in the head. Did you get the sense yesterday? I wonder if he was talking to coaches as much as he was the staff. Maybe yesterday was one of those days where coaches may have been in their feelings a little bit, or I
dropped the "I'm here to coach" coaches line.
Okay, so you haven't been around me long enough. My favorite go-to line, amazing Daniel can attest to this because he never forgets any gosh darn thing that I say that's wrong or right, is coaches coach coordinators, coordinators coach position coaches coach players. And when he was putting this staff together, I said that for like 10 years, right? So, but when he was putting this staff together, you said, I mean, maybe this was with the McGuire hire in particular. You said, maybe he's just confident that he's that good of a coach, right? Like, or with O-line that he could, if he wanted to help out and play a part in O-line, he could. Like, he was just that supremely confident in his ability to coach coaches. And maybe that's what it was. So I'm just weird, and I don't know Poot from Shinola because I wasn't even here yesterday for most of the day. But I wonder if because there was a lot of that yesterday, right? There was a lot of that yesterday.
And I didn't even think that deeply into that point that you're bringing up.
Bro, I had 6 hours, right? So I'm just like,
that is true.
I'm just like thinking, and the other thing was because I'll give you an example. I think I can say this because there were coaches there. It wasn't just a DB thing. So there was one practice in particular where, my favorite guy that has the bullhorn, he's the timing guy. I don't want to give him up because but I would I would spend quite
the guy
a bit
that's
of
on point
yes.
pacing practice.
I talk to him every 5 seconds. He's probably like, get this little dude out of my, because he's kind of yoked, but he just blew the horn, and it's in the middle of a period. He's like, coaches, on Coach Rhule. Coach Rhule is like talking to the staff, and he's like losing his mind, right? Coaches are kind of nodding in agreement, and short story long, periods rotate after a certain amount of plays. There's a certain amount of periods going on, stations. They were off 2 plays. Some groups were on play 4, some were on play 6. Not happy because when you rotate, some groups were ready to rotate, some weren't. Stopped it just to let everybody know that that's not how it's going down. Now, it turns out he had to own it because they really were on play 6. And he was on 4, but he was like, that's on me. Won't happen again. We good? We good. Right? Like, that's the practical application of modeling the behavior that you want for your coaches. But yesterday, man, he went. It was for me, it was his best one yet.
The press conference?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no question.
Yeah.
I said that exact same thing, and these two over here can attest. I go, I've never seen a better press conference.
That was my favorite
ever.
We could play those clips, getting ready in the morning, getting ready at night.
Iron sharpens iron.
And sometimes, see, that's the part that, and I'm not telling people they should have wrote the good book, but they should have put in sometimes you get sparks, right? Because you do. I mean, when you sharpen iron, you see little orange things flicker up. And
if you don't get sparks, are you really?
You're not sharpening a goddamn thing.
Are you thinking through things from every angle, every perspective? Are we just on the same page and it's this way and no other way? No.
Yeah.
Everybody has a different look at how this play just went about, and did you see the movement from this guy, or this route could have been done better? And if everyone was like, oh no, like we're on the same page, that route could have been done better. Well, you may be standing over here thinking like, I thought he did it pretty well, and I don't know if it could have been done better.
Yeah, and right on cue. Our listeners that listen all the time are probably like, that's just because he said such and such and you do. Well, kind of, because on Wednesday we asked BC. I said, BC, are there any older guys that we probably should be hearing more about that aren't getting that aren't being mentioned, or should we just assume that they're doing their job? And we brought up 2 guys, or I brought up 2 guys in particular. I said, because I think you said, well, either BC or you said, well, like who? And I said, I don't know, like Reimer, like Miles Farmer. BC was cool. He was like, those guys may just be steady Eddie, right? Just good at their job, nothing to say.
I kind of enjoy that.
But yesterday.
Who was at the podium? Who did Coach Rhule talk about?
Shane, that clip is number 7. Rhule, number 7.
Yeah, Miles. You can turn a team into a good team when your best players, they buy into the things that not only that everyone buys into the things that they like. Can they buy into the things that they don't like?
Mm-hmm.
Can they buy into the things that don't make sense? So Miles is one of those guys who, like, first got here, like, part of his edge, which I love, is to be a little bit chippy. And he's gotten to the point now where, like, he understands, like, hey, let me coach you. And so Miles is one of my favorite guys to be on the field with. He's physical, he's competitive, but he's bought into a lot of the small details, whether it's the classroom, whether it's the way we communicate with each other. And if I can get more and more of the other guys to do what Miles has done, we'll have a chance to have a good team.
Newsome's a little bit of the same.
They're good call. Yes, they are. So let me tell you what was getting ready to happen. Because I said a month ago, I'm a little concerned.
And I'll date you back. I asked you for a quiet guy in the spring, like somebody that you're kind of uncertain on. One of the 3 was Miles Farmer.
Yeah. So because admittedly, and anybody that's ever heard me knows, I'm a Miles Farmer guy. I have been since he got here. I would tell people, he's not a fake tough guy. Like, he's about that life. Like, he really is. He wants all the smoke. He wants it all the time. But he's hard-headed. So I like that because it's like a younger version of me, right? Where you just, for whatever the reason, if everybody's going right, man, you may go left just for a sec, just because, right? You want somebody
just because you want to.
You want somebody to say something
because
to
you can.
I couldn't. I just didn't pay the price, right? So it's like, but I gravitated towards Miles a ton. So I knew coming in, I was concerned, could he make the leap? Because he marches to the beat of his own drum, and Coach Rhule's just not really going to let you do that. Like, you're free to be an independent thinker. You're not free to be independent of what everybody else is doing. And you better figure out where that line is crossed, right? That's just how it goes.
No doubt to me about that.
So I was worried. And listen, my man got off to a slow start.
Right. And you know what's funny? I wasn't worried about the guys I didn't hear about, because I figured if we didn't hear about them, they're meeting the standard.
So it's 2 things, though. It's 2 different things. When I asked BC the question on Wednesday, I was asking it exactly what I thought. Is it because they're steady or because we should be concerned? Because everything is so intentional. The videos are intentional. Who gets the pub is intentional. Who comes to the podium it's all intentional, right? So with Miles, I went down there a couple weeks ago, and it was just me and Coach Rhule, right? Who was the first guy that I asked about? I said, hey, well, it wasn't the first guy. He's in the top 5.
Mm-hmm. I
said, you gotta talk about my guy, man. I said, what's? And so, we dialogue and we shoot the breeze, and I'm like, come on, Miles. Like, I'm cheering for you, right? Because I think deep down, Farmer is one of those guys that wants to be led. Most people want to be led, right? Young people want to be led.
Even if you are hard-headed?
Yes, because
deep down, you
do, right? Am I hard-headed? Yeah, right?
But you still want to be led.
Yeah, I want guidance, right? I want to know where we're at, what we're doing, what's that. Like, I want it all. Like, tell me, right? And let's see if I can rally to the occasion. And so for him to say what he said, because I'm telling you, and I know our fans are like, man, damn, Damon, it's just because you like the guy. It's not, because fans have a little bit of trauma. They saw the Miles Farmer that got hurt before Northwestern, or warming up in Purdue, and was having pick sixes and a good player. Then they saw him come back, and it's like, man, can't take good angles, not very fleet of foot. He's not very sudden. And then the start last year, he was kind of
rocky.
Yeah, but then he got around Coach Bush. He started playing a little bit more one-gap scheme, getting guys downhill. And it was like, oh, maybe Farmer showing some flashes. Now, Bush and those guys didn't have him long enough, but he started to look more like the guy that came out of Georgia. And then yesterday, He said what he said. If I wasn't driving, I would have gone out of the car and jogged. Like if I was at if I was stopping to get gas or something, I would have jogged.
You'd have done some jumping jacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want my 8 back.
Those look so silly.
I'm trying to get my 8 back for sure.
You know,
You can pull it off.
Hey,
Dad,
you know, it's
Dad,
just,
stop doing jumping jacks.
Because I'm telling you, they need his emotional toughness. Like if they can, I'm telling you, like if I could combine, like if I was going to make like a prototypical guy, at the safety spot, I would mix in Kobe's athleticism and versatility with Miles' ability to not give two cares and just go with it. Like that would be the dude.
He explains it how he knows how to explain it.
Do you also notice how every time a defensive back gets up at the podium, they mention Malcolm Hartzog's name?
Yeah.
Every time that name gets brought up.
The only listen, I'm all in on Hartzog. The only thing I want to see is he has to make. I watched a lot of old film last year, so here's the thing that I want.
Malcolm's a ball player.
I want to know about Malcolm is because he's a kind of a hawk and he's always around the ball. Occasionally, sometimes as that field safety, you may have to be an alley runner. Like it's not a ton of contact. You got to kind of make some more plays, but will he get in the run game and fit in the run game and be good with contact? Like that's the thing that I want to see for the evolution of his game.
I think he is that guy that puts his body on the line.
Yeah, we'll
his
see.
Work ethic is outstanding, and something that I really like too. And I've mentioned this before. He's a quiet leader.
Yeah.
He's someone that puts his head down and just knows the job. He knows the day. He's there to win the day. And that's something Coach Rhule says a lot, and we'll get into more of that as the show goes on. We are talking to Mike Schaefer coming up in the next segment. We have Mike Sautter and Matt Vrzal in the 9 o'clock hour, as we always do on a Friday.
Yeah.
And then at 8 o'clock, we are talking the Masters with Ryan Balengee. And
a lot went on yesterday.
I can't imagine listening to golf.
It was fantastic.
Watching golf
was fantastic.
Even better.
It was fantastic. So I'm new to listen.
It's such a new perspective.
I'm new to listening to golf, but the feet, the right to left, 4 or 5 inches, just short. Like,
could you picture?
Yes.
Every moment.
Yes.
It's the best radio call you can get. Then.
It was pretty good, man. And I think because Cougar's the only guy I listen to do the Masters. I've never listened to like I'm on the Golf Channel on satellite. Oh, it was fire.
I don't even have Sirius Radio anymore. No, thank you.
My truck's about to run out too. Don't worry.
Me the wrong way.
Stop bugging
me. Mike Schaefer up next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Normally you notice that they're early enrollees, but like Cam Lenhart and Prince Will spent a lot of time on our first string. They are outstanding players. Boodle's finally been cleared to practice full time, and he's just got a great feel. You know, when you recruit guys, sometimes you don't know the feel that they have, and I guess when you come from his lineage, you can expect it. But like he's out there, he made a great play on the goal line today. And so, Gunnar Gatula is out there. Like, that's the hardest position. Like, hey, be an O lineman. Oh, by the way, go play left tackle and be running with the second unit. And I think he's done an excellent job. Excellent job. So I probably forget Maverick Noonan's natural pass rusher, great feeling for it. So I've never really noticed, right? Like, hey, these guys are all early enrollees. They just kind of fit in. Is there anybody else I'm missing? I don't think so. They kind of all fit in. And again, that's why I talk about some of the walk-on players that we have. I never noticed that, hey, he's a walk-on, right? We got a bunch of guys that I know could help us. So like Herbeck's been playing his tail off, right? So, we try to look at everybody and just kind of where they are right now. And I think those early enrollees are going to help us. And maybe they won't help us this year. I mean, I hope so. Who knows? That's why I always say, like, I wait all the way till training camp to kind of make those decisions, because some guys are going to make huge jumps in the summer and some guys won't.
Coach Rhule is the ultimate cheat sheet. If you are in class and you're like, man, I didn't study for that test.
Yeah.
If you had just Coach Rhule's 14-minute presser, I'm telling you, you'll get a 96 on that test. You didn't need to be at practice. You didn't need to be anywhere. He told you all the answers, and he gave you a great way to describe those things. Coffee and Cream back with you live from HVC Live Breakfast. Amazing Daniel, thumbs up in the middle or thumbs down on the breakfast? Of course it's a thumbs up.
God,
So
that's a monster plate.
and get a plate of the corned beef hash.
If you need anything, apparently we need to ask D. Number one, take a look at his equipment, right? You ever seen him on Twitter like when he's playing? He spent quite a bit of money on his instruments. Number two, when we were talking about dirtying up the wall back at headquarters when we were there on Wednesday, this dude has that panel in his basement. So listen, good on your wife, because I'm sure she is like,
who did I marry?
the money maker. But D, like, he's got big toys, his bikes, his motorcycle. Like,
he's just a giant kid.
Hey, if you want to adopt, you can claim me for taxes. I just got to get the perks. All in, man, on yesterday's presser, as we talked about early enrollees. Hey, Shane, where is Schaefer?
He's on. There he is. Hopping in via
hat on
StreamYard.
backwards. Hey, we're matching. Look.
Live on Twitter. Oh, hold on.
Hey, we're matching.
Guys.
Mike, why are you laughing at me?
I don't know if either of you could fit in this T-shirt. Maybe DB.
No, I couldn't.
But if
Dude,
I took Schaefer's hat and your vest, I'd look kind of funny.
It'd be monochromatic. Mike J, good morning, man. How are you?
I'm good. How we doing? Just,
I'm good.
Maroon Friday, apparently.
Yep.
Hey,
that's how we do it.
Outside of AR, I almost said AR-15.
It's cool.
Outside of Uncle Ruru,
she's gonna be here today.
How is embarrassed the word? Schaefer, this is like the third week in a row Gunnar Gatula has come up. If we're being honest, in the media and recruiting folks, he was an afterthought to this class. This guy next to me, for whatever the reason, is the only one that put him in his Super Six. And I said if he's right, he'd be a genius. Here we are, Gunnar Gatula, doing the darn thing. And I watched it live, and I was like, was he sandbagging me? Because he's a technician.
Yeah, he's got a great opportunity because there's not a lot of offensive linemen in the spring. And so he's getting to work a lot of reps, and he's getting great instruction to go out there, every day that he's practicing and getting the opportunity to just put it on film. Sometimes there's no substitute for that. So is he game ready for Big Ten play? Like, would you feel great if that's your starting left tackle on August 31st? I don't know, but I'm happy for him that he's having the opportunity to get these reps. Someone's got to take them. That's the thing. They've only got a handful of linemen, and so it's a great opportunity for him to continue to get better. I think it's true of all of those early enrollees. This is a year in which getting in there early might give you a leg up down the line. I don't know that I look for any of these guys to necessarily play right away, but you are hearing about him, and in the case of Cam Lenhart, you see him, and you're just like, okay, all right, I get it.
It wouldn't surprise me at all if Prince, Cam, or Math played. All three of those, and it's weird too because they all get after the passer.
Yeah,
all three of those guys are with the top two units,
and you're looking for a pass rusher right now,
right?
You're looking for a sack guy. So it's anybody's game.
Yeah, they're gonna make their case. They're gonna have an opportunity to make their case. They're all. All of these early enrollees are at spots where Nebraska is essentially looking for help or have maybe some depth deficiencies that allow them to have these opportunities. And so if they're able to take them and run with them, great. You've heard now both Jamari Butler and MJ Sherman refer to Maverick Noonan. I think one of them called him a natural pass rusher. Their teammates get it too. So if these guys are able to help early, great. If not, they're getting an opportunity for early reps, and you never know when that turns into November playing time. That's the other thing is we have an expectation that a guy that's going to break out is going to do it right away in game one. What if it happens in October or November? So that you're putting in the work for the opportunity in the fall. and we'll see, where that opportunity comes for these guys. But it's great for them to get these spring reps.
Schaefer, on Tuesday, we asked, we had a question asked to us about what mesmerizes you most about Coach Rhule. And after listening to his presser yesterday, or before yesterday, I should say, I don't think there was anything that could really surprise me with him. I think I had a good gauge on him until I listened to that presser, and it probably took me an hour and a half to get through because everything that he said there was just so mesmerizing. Is there anything he can do now that surprises you? Or is there something that sticks out to you that's like, hey, this guy is so compelling, and every example, every analogy he uses is just so spot on. It really makes you think.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I think we're all just waiting for that first Big Ten opening statement.
Yeah.
We're going to get the words per minute out, and we're going to see how long that speech goes for. And I don't know if you guys, Andrew, I don't know if you're aware. I think this happened before the start of the show. There was a coach last year that did not have an opening statement.
I am aware.
You, me, Andrew. It was a big deal. And I don't think we're going to have that this year. I think that Matt Rhule will have a thing or 7 to say when he's up there in front of the Big Ten. So that's where we're at now.
He likes to hear himself talk at least, so I'm sure we'll get one out of him.
I don't know about that part, but Schaefer, when you're taking a look at this deal and they're piecing it together, how much are you willing to roll the dice or compromise? Okay, now the roster's it's good or okay or whatever. It's certainly not great. I don't like whatever the words are. I'm just trying to.
I know what you mean because you don't.
The kids would say mid.
Okay.
And
we're not kids.
They obviously want to grow it some, right?
Sure.
But how much do you buoy that with the fact that you trust Coach Rhule when it comes to expectations?
I mean, I certainly have confidence that there's going to be development, and I have confidence based on his history that they're going to have some success. What I don't necessarily have is an exact feel for what this team is yet. I mean, we don't really know what the offense is. We don't really know who their best player is going to be on that offense. I mean, there's enough changing pieces and enough question marks. We just sort of have the general belief that because Matt Rhule was successful at Baylor and at Temple, he's going to be successful at Nebraska. But there's a lot we don't really have a great grasp on. We don't know what this 3-3-5 defense is going to look like in the Big Ten. We don't know if they have the linebacker pieces to survive in the conference too. I mean, I think there's a fair amount of questions that you can ask that allow you to remain skeptical while also acknowledging that in general, there's a high level of confidence that this program should be able to develop the talent that it has not gotten enough out of over the last few years. Now, does that mean they're going to start stacking wins from day one? That's kind of the big question. I mean, I look at this team and I think, again, they're going to hover right around that 6-6 and 7-5, and I think that's a perfectly fine spot for them to be right now. But I can't guarantee that is going to be the end result because at some point we have to see it more than just what we have so far. And there's a lot of unanswered questions about who's going to do what, I think, for this team too. So I do have confidence in Matt Rhule in the long term, but the short term, I think, is still very much in question.
Speaking of short, these interviews are always just way
We got to
too
get. He
short.
needs a bigger segment.
We need to get you in on a bigger segment. Maybe you can bully him to stick around.
Schaefer, you want to do another one?
Look, if you want me, I'll stick around. I don't have anything going on.
We want you.
All right, Mike Schaefer again next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio, covering Nebraska football and recruiting for 24/7 Sports. Here is Mike J. Schaefer.
Yeah, that's a grown-ass man right there.
Mike Schaefer.
I don't know. There could be bacon involved.
Mike Schaefer.
I appreciate it, guys. Thank Brian Edwards for me.
Here is Mike Schaefer.
For those that may have missed it going into the break, because yes, we ran over. Yes, it's a problem. And don't worry, our boss has addressed it with us too. So we will find a way to fix it. But we did say and get Mike Schaefer to stick around for one more segment with us. We appreciate you, Mike. I'll welcome you in once again, a part of the Maroon Gang, the Three Musketeers. Mike, good morning.
Sports.
I just want to comment real quickly. The hard clock on this show is something I'm so not used to with Damon.
I know, right? See, I get a lot of the blame, but I'm telling you, it's everybody. Like, it was just a thing where, like, if your producers could maneuver the clock, they would. There just isn't a lot of, I mean, hard outs are hard outs.
Yep.
That's why.
Because we're dealing with automation back at the actual station. So when we're on remote, you have to hit the hard out because no matter what, they're hitting that break. Bang! They're hitting that break. Shafe, we talked a little bit about Miles Farmer in the opening segment, and it came back to a name that we haven't really heard about this offseason, and then we heard about him in a good way. But when you were talking about Gunnar Gatula, too, in the last segment, you kind of alluded to similar things that Miles Farmer was sharing, a guy that's just coachable, right? And that's really what it boils down to. Even if you don't understand what is being told to you, you still embrace it because you are being led that way. And I think that is just, if you could really take one bit of the recipe, one bit of the formula that Coach Rhule presents to these players, it's that. At the end of the day, you have to be coachable.
Well, yeah. I mean, in order to grow and receive the instruction to grow and to grow as they want, like, you have to accept that input. and then you have to utilize that input. And I wrote this on my message board. I sent it to Damon actually, just because I thought it was a great example of Evan Cooper. But there was a moment that I saw Tuesday at open practice with Evan Cooper and Sincere Sefuya, and it was during the special teams. And Sincere's the outside guy on kick coverage. And Evan Cooper wanted him to do this very specific thing, and he just was working him for, 5 to 7 minutes. And this drill's just going and going, and he's just constantly he's chatting with him. He's not really like dogging him or berating him, but he's letting him know he's not doing it right. He's not doing it right. He needs to do this. He needs to do this. And it keeps going and keeps going. There's full speed reps. There's half speed reps. And on the final one, it's a full speed rep. And Sincere just nails it. He does it exactly as Evan Cooper wants. And he doesn't make a big deal of it, but he just walks down the sidelines. He puts his hands out. He acknowledges, that it's a job well done. And it was nice to just sort of see that in practice, like to see kind of how that works, to see a guy just grow and get the 1% better in that moment that they talk about. Because now what you do is you build on that. You get the basic down. You're moving on to the next thing. You know that this guy is receptive. You form that bond. You know how you can work with him. You know how he's going to receive that information. I mean, a lot of this spring is learning for the coaches too. They have to learn the guys in their room. They have to learn how to talk to them. They have to learn how to communicate with them. I mean, Damon knows this as well as anybody. Athletes aren't one size fit all. You have to have different approaches with different guys, and they have to meet you in the middle sometimes. I mean, that's part of the whole balancing act. And I think that's happening at a large level for the entire staff.
Schaefer, you know what? Self-admittedly, I'm a little warped, but listening to this presser over and over on the way back from Madison yesterday, I couldn't help but to think to myself, because he's so intentional and specific, Coach Rhule. I thought a lot of that may have been for the coaches. How did that even dawn on you as you're listening to the presser, or did you just kind of take it for what it is with all the direct messages that were in that 15 minutes yesterday?
Well, I mean, I definitely think that coaches can be subliminal in terms of how they want things to be received and what's being said. Sometimes you have stuff that's specifically addressed to a group of players that you want to get across. I mean, sometimes you're expressing confidence in guys that you're hoping it's going to help grow their confidence and they're going to go perform even better than where they're at. I mean, that stuff is not new in terms of interview response. So I wouldn't have put it just like you did right there, but it wouldn't surprise me if some of it's aimed towards his own guys, internal motivation. I mean, this is a staff that has to develop too. That's another aspect of this. This isn't, this isn't a group of wily veterans that have been around the block a bunch of times. It's a lot of guys in, really trying to earn their roles and prove to Coach Rhule that he made the right decision by elevating them and putting them in some cases in their first position coach spot. So it's a work in progress for everybody this spring. So it wouldn't surprise me if some of his messaging was directed towards that as well.
Schaefer, do you ever sit back and try to interpret something on your own, craft your own opinion based on what Coach Rhule is saying? Because for me, every time I listen to a presser of his, it's why it takes me so long to actually get through it. And it's because I'm trying to put it into words to where I really understand. Not that Coach Rhule isn't, saying something and it doesn't resonate, but I'm like trying to put it into an example into my life. So, for example, we talked about the change in expectation level for these guys, and it's not about moral victories anymore. It's not participation trophies. It's winning happens now. It doesn't happen in the fall. It happens now. And so I'm like, what does that really mean? So I tried to interpret it the best I could. And what I landed on was controlling what you can control, meeting goals, whether they're team goals or individual to start the year, and just putting in effort. And going back to something he says a lot is winning the day. Do you ever find yourself interpreting things to make it easier on yourself?
Not, I think, in the literal sense of I'll sit down and I'll be like, okay, so he said this and I think it means this. But a lot of it, I think, all builds back to the general idea that they really subscribe to, is that they want to get 1% better each day. I mean, you have A lot of players talk about this. I've heard a couple of assistant coaches reference something similar. And then I think it's a big part of the mantra of what Matt Rhule does. I mean, if you're not getting better, if you're not growing, if you're not trying to develop, you're stagnant, you're getting worse, you're going the wrong way. And so I think a lot of his messaging, a lot of his conversational way of talking is about just getting that point across. It's about that we have to, when he says that winning happens now, it's not that they're obviously playing games. It's that if they're not improving at this opportunity, then they're going to be behind when they need to improve in the fall, because everything is built upon each other. So if you're having bad practices in the spring, you're not achieving your maximum potential to then have better practices moving forward, where you can continue to add and you can continue to grow and your repertoire and your arsenal expands. And so I think it's all part of that. It's all building upon each other. And so I think that is as big of a thing as it is for Matt Rhule. And that's kind of what I take away every time he talks. It's about just continual growth and not sliding backwards or not fighting to a standstill. It's moving forward.
Now, the later I ask this question in spring practice, the more advantage I think you have as a person receiving the question. But Schaefer, I've asked everybody of all the position groups, if you could have a player emerge out of nowhere to be a good player, a good impactful player, what position currently on this team would you pick to be?
I am a little surprised I'm saying this, but I think it's sort of an area where it's been discussed a lot recently. I think it would be off of the edge spotter in that linebacker room right now. Like, I think if you could have a difference maker between a Jamari Butler or MJ Sherman, or if Maverick Noonan can be a freshman All-American or what have you, if they can get one of those guys to go from steady contributor to difference maker, I think that could be such a huge boon to that defense. And I have come a long way from where I was at. I feel better about the defensive line right now. I feel better about the offensive line right now, at least in the sense that I've made peace with the idea that the offensive line is going to have to improve with the guys that it has. There's no one magically coming through the door that's going to solve this thing. Yeah. Like, it's the players that they have that they went out and got for a reason. I mean, it's not a line that lacks talent. They just have to improve. So I go back to this linebacker spot. If you have someone emerge at a really high level at that jack position to go along with Luke Reimer in the middle and whatever else they're doing on that level with Nick Henrich and all of those guys, it could be a real boon to that defense, because I feel like you're maybe going to get steady production up front. And I like what they have on the back end. So now all of a sudden my question mark has kind of moved to the middle of this defense in this 3-3-5, where they have, all three levels have massive things that they have to accomplish. But those linebackers have to be able to cover a lot of ground, and they have to clean up a lot of messes. So you need them to play at a high level. So if a really good player emerges from that jack position, that defense gets better in a big way.
Mike, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much for going long with us. We'll try to move you around next week.
I could be a utility infielder. Just let me know.
Hey, by the way, are you pleased with the start of your Guardians?
Yeah, well, I'm pleased that I get to watch the games now. I work.
All right.
MLB TV, so I get to watch them. But yeah, I mean, they're 5-2 through 7 games. You can't be too upset with that. They got their opener today. It'll be great. I'll have the Masters on one TV, the opener on another. It'll be a good time.
Yeah, we're like kindred spirits, because I not only have them winning the Central, but Ramirez is my AL MVP. So
he's gotta start launching some bombs.
It'll come
from your lips to God's ears, buddy.
It'll come. Shay, enjoy the rest of the day, man. Have a good Friday.
All right, have a great Easter weekend, guys.
Hey,
thanks, Mike
too,
J.
Man. Coming up next, we're talking the Masters here on Coffee and Cream.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning.
Brooks Koepka now down the hill at 17. This to go 6 under par. Yes, sir.
Honestly, I think it was just the start. Got off to a good start. Anytime you're 200 through 3, that's a good start. So felt good. Kind of just piggybacked off that momentum, and very happy the way I played. Drove the ball really nicely. Left it in some good spots.
Hey, top of the hour here on Coffee and Cream in the Morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. That's Brooks Koepka. He just had to be that third guy to take a share of the lead yesterday. Just had to be that guy. Tied for first with John Rahm and Victor Hovland, all at 7 under at the end of the first round. Hovland tees off at 11:54, Rahm at 12:18, Koepka on the course right now. And then you have a tie for fourth, two-way. Cam Young, my guy, Jason Day, DB's guy, although he did not take him. And then you had Shane Lowry, who actually is a long shot a lot of people like, and that goes from 4 under down. And there are a handful of guys tied for 6th, and then a handful of guys tied for 13th at 3 under. And in that 3 under field, you will find Jordan Spieth, Tony Finau. Where's Scotty Scheffler? Oh, yeah, he's 4 under. Had a decent day. One of the favorites. Rory, not so much. He's even.
Scheffler still maybe had, and there were some great shots yesterday. Still maybe had shot of the day on 15, where I don't even know who has the stones to attempt it. But now didn't he attempt it? He pulled it off, and that's just Scheffler being Scheffler. Couldn't find it with the blade though.
No. He'll find it though. I mean, he's so good with his irons. He'll be fine. And you know what? Maybe I don't know that for a fact, but our next guest probably does. It's Ryan Balengee, owner of Golf News Net, at Ryan Balengee on Twitter. Ryan, good morning.
Thanks for having me on. How are you guys?
Good. Hyperbole, or because there were so many good ones that Scheffler did have shot of the day on 15.
That was a pretty gutsy shot.
Yeah.
I don't know many people who would have even tried to attempt it in that fashion, and to get it to 3 feet and then make birdie afterward was just nuts. I mean, it was, I think, the capstone on a day where he probably got the bare minimum out of what he was capable of doing tee to green, because his putter was so cold. Mm-hmm. So if that's the worst he could do, 4 under 4 times with not much of a putter to show for it, I think we're talking about a defending Masters champion winning again.
Mm.
Out of the top 3 guys right now, Ryan, Rahm, Koepka, and Hovland, whose game did you like the most yesterday?
I would say Rahm's. I mean, his tee to green game was amazing. I gained something like 8 strokes on the field, just tee to green, and then lost it putting. He's a better putter than that. So I think it's a little above usual expectations for what he would do. He's probably going to come back to the mean a little bit today, is my guess. But Koepka was extremely impressive, coming off of an event on Live where he won, but played a golf course that, frankly, I mean, I played not too long ago, and it's really easy. I wasn't sure that it was going to carry over to this week, and he looked like the Brooks of old. I mean, it was pretty impressive out there. And for Hovland to shoot 5 strokes better than any other round he's ever had at Augusta National is pretty awesome. I would say Rahm overall is probably the most impressive to me.
Ryan, where do you come out on like decision making when you're assessing golfers' outright play? Right, some of the decisions. Spieth comes to mind just because of the decisions with Amen Corner yesterday that aren't really talent related. It's more a mindset. Like, how do you factor that in when you're trying to cap a field?
It's really hard to do. I mean, for me, it's the whole reason I stay away from someone like Jordan Spieth. I just can't support how he thinks about golf sometimes. But then you've got guys who are so cut and dry about, I'm going to do this all 4 days. I'm going to do this all the time. And I also don't like being that dogmatic about it, because there are situations where you have to deviate from what your plan is. So I think really just having a golfer that's willing to go with the situation, that's comfortable with where they are and what they have with their caddy and their relationship. And that's like a Scheffler with Ted Scott. I mean, they made their choices and they were okay with them. And yes, some of them didn't work out and some of the putts didn't go in, but they knew what they were doing and they did it decisively. And I think if you're not decisive, whatever that is, one way or the other, around Augusta National, that's where you get in trouble. You have to have your mind made up and commit to every shot.
Speaking of a caddy and their relationship with the player, Cam Young in a new spot with a new caddy, and he looked pretty good. 5 under on the day yesterday. What do you make of that relationship and how much that's benefited Cam Young's game?
I wasn't sure it would take this quickly, to be honest. I thought it'd take a couple of weeks or a couple of tournaments for Paul Tesori and Cam Young to kind of figure things out and how they work with one another. But it sounds like they got all that out of the way at the match play, had a heart-to-heart, how they want to work together, what they want to do. And they probably have been talking before this was all official, of course. But Paul Tesori is an incredible caddy. I mean, he's been on the bag of multiple major winners. He's been through it all. He's been to the top of the mountain with BJ Singh at #1 in the world. He knows what this is like. So he is nothing but an asset to Cam Young, and that it's worked seemingly this quickly, along with Cam Young finding his form again in a major, which is seemingly becoming a regular thing. I think that makes them a pretty deadly duo.
So we're talking about 4 career wins and I think 2 top 10s for Topeka's finest in Gary Woodland. Off to a good start, and he's playing early today, which I think we'd all agree you want to, right, with the weather coming. Do you like his mental makeup? Not a lot in terms of track record, in terms of clutch performances, but do you like him overall? Kind of, he's mid-30s, a lot of experience, a lot of starts. Do you like the mental makeup to be in this position on just day 2?
I mean, if you want someone who stared down Brooks Koepka in a major, here's your guy. He did it to win a U.S. Open title. So I think he does have it in him, and he's played very well this year. He was low-key high up in the rankings that I do every week for our members at Golf News Net around modeling for this tournament. The one key metric I look at is strokes gained tee to green, and in the calendar year, the 3 months leading into the tournament. He was right up in the mid-teens in the ranking, which was kind of surprising. Obviously not the best putter there's ever been, but he does have the chops to win a major. He's done that, and he does have the game currently to win. So I think he's got something here.
Mother Nature wanted to provide every obstacle, Ryan, in the book to make it difficult on our Masters champion this year. Beautiful weather yesterday, partly cloudy this morning with thunderstorms becoming likely, wind also starting to pick up, rain all day on Saturday. Take out the idea of, well, they're pros. How difficult is it for these players to adjust to course conditions on the fly with it being so ever-changing throughout the tournament? Is there any advantage you see that comes out of these changes?
I mean, I think you guys got it right that late early is the right way because you get the best chance of getting through 36 holes at some point today. And that just means you can play the waiting game. And hopefully for them, that doesn't mean waiting too long, right? If Saturday for some reason is no good and they can't play or they play very little, then you don't start your third round until Sunday sometime, which then maybe you've waited too long to play. But we'll see about that. I think in terms of changing conditions, at Augusta National, they've obviously got the sub-air system underneath the greens. They can take the moisture out at a very rapid rate. They could keep the greens running a pretty pure pace. They'll be a little bit more receptive like they were yesterday. But I think that the wind picking up a little bit, maybe the occasional spit, I don't think that's necessarily a big deal to these guys so much as getting thrown off rhythm. Whether you have to start and stop, come off the course, warm up again, come off again, start over again, wait a long time between opportunities to play. That's what I think throws these guys off way more than having to adjust to a golf course that could be changing with the weather.
So, Ryan, let me ask you something. I love to play cards, and sometimes I tell people the best hands are the ones that you get away from, the ones that keep you out of the messy pots that you can lay down. You're at Augusta, and there's two guys in particular that come to mind. You mentioned Scheffler going 4 under, leaving a lot out there. I look at a guy like Tony Finau yesterday, who left a little out there, but he's in contention and kind of right there. Would you rather be the guy that knows you left a little out there and it eats you up to be driven, or the guy that left a little bit out there that's like, you know what? Let's try to wash, rinse, repeat, and go get those ones missed?
That's a good question. I think pros know about imposter syndrome. I think they know when they got away with one. I think they know when they did something way better than what they were expecting. And then they try and go out and do it the next day and go, wait, I know I can't do this. I shouldn't have done it yesterday. And I think the opposite works better, where you're like, okay, the old Tiger line, I didn't play myself out of it, but I played myself into it tomorrow. And that's the opportunity that Scheffler and Finau and a number of guys who may have felt like they left a few out there. And frankly, Finau always leaves a few out there.
Doesn't he? Can I stay with him just for a sec?
Yeah, stick with
Sure.
it. So when he had a chance to get 4 under, and I'm obviously cheering my brains out.
You're texting me.
What is it about that blade stroke that doesn't leave you very confident when you know he has those 5-6 footers?
I think it's the way he stands a little too up, kind of like hunched over it for me with the putter. But it's also because he's so tall that it's really hard for a tall guy to putt very well.
Dustin
you either have to get super hunched over and stay to it, or you get too upright, and he kind of gets himself caught sometimes between putts of different lengths, I think.
It's a good call. Yeah. It's a very good call. Ryan Balengee, owner of Golf News Net, with us right now. Hey, Ryan, a lot of golf fans out there had hope Rory would be the one to take home the green jacket to complete the Grand Slam. Shot even in round 1, We know he's someone that can make comebacks in tournaments like this. You could say Augusta is his Eleanor if we have any Gone in 60 Seconds fans out there. Being 7 shots off the lead, though, do you like where his game's at right now, or are you already thinking he's too far back to get it done this year?
I think he's too far back, but maybe he doesn't, especially after last year's final round, right? He's got to take that into the back of his brain and put it to the front today and just go, look, I've got nothing to lose. I'm way behind. There are a ton of world-class golfers in front of me that I got to get through in 54 holes. He's got to start now. So he's got to be super aggressive, but that's the kind of golf that he plays well, is when he can play aggressive and it doesn't matter. And I think he psychs himself out in these first rounds, especially at Augusta, where he's like, well, I don't want to play bad, but I don't want to play too good. And then all of a sudden you do what he did and, shoot a 72 that seems super frustrating. So I think now he's kind of freed up to go and play with the style of golf that he wants. For better or for worse, he put himself 7 strokes behind the 8 ball, but I wouldn't be surprised if after 54, he's 2 or 3 back.
If a rose is a rose by any other name, does Justin have enough physical prowess at this age to hang in there in this weather for 3 more days?
I think he does. I think he does. I was very impressed with what he did at Pebble Beach, and I wasn't expecting it entirely, especially given the weather that they had out there. And he battled through those tough conditions, got the win on a Monday. So he seems more comfortable rolling with the punches at this stage of his career than maybe he was when he was winning a U.S. Open 10 years ago. So I really do like the way he's playing. I like his approach to golf. At one point, though, he's going to have to find maybe a little bit of an extra gear compared to the best in the world, who, those guys who are a little bit younger, certainly a bit farther than he is off the tee. But he's got it. He can do it. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a little bit of an older winner this year, if, and that's a big if, those guys at the top that are quite young kind of go sideways or fall off a little bit in bad weather in the start and stop of the weekend.
Ryan, I got one last thing, and then I'll let you go. Everybody had their favorites coming in. We drafted on the show Wednesday. We've studied the odds, and now we got a taste of who's feeling it and who's not. Is there somebody, whether at the top or not, you watched yesterday and thought, I like the way he's playing despite the score he finished at?
I like Shane Lowry's round a lot.
He's right there.
I waffled on him the entire time to bet him. I didn't wind up not betting him. I have Sungjae Im. I like what he showed. He just didn't get much out of it, so maybe there's something there.
Again, that was more decision making. That was more decision making than talent, right?
Yeah, exactly. And you can't make those wild. Hopefully, you clean up those mental mistakes for the next day. But Morikawa is the guy that I've kept coming back to model after model after model. So hopefully, 69 is not the peak for him this week. It's just the beginning.
I'm kicking myself.
DB's heart's pounding out of his chest.
Yeah, because we serpentine the draft, and he was my guy all week, and I
faded him.
I didn't do it because at the end of the day, I just didn't trust the putting. What did you see where you're like, okay, I'm a models guy. You're obviously really, really good at this. What should I have been willing to compromise?
I think bad putters can win at Augusta easier than any other major. And the reason is good approach play doesn't always translate into a good result, if that makes sense, like from a strokes game perspective. And so you could hit a good shot, be 2 feet off, and now you're lagging. You could hit a bad shot and it, pays off pretty well. And now you've got a close putt. Just because the way the greens are, you kind of have to accept you can't be that precise. So it hopefully averages out over the course of time. And that's why, you kind of emphasize that tee to green game instead of the overall game this week. And with the speeds of these greens run at, you're bound to make some mistakes. So if Morikawa is going to make mistakes anyway, if everyone else is too, I like Morikawa's chances.
Ryan, we appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much. Enjoy the day. Enjoy the rest of the weekend. We will talk again soon.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
That is Ryan Balengee, owner of Golf News Net. Again, on Twitter, at Ryan Balengee, Ballengee.
I mean, why wouldn't you want to be a guy like me that second guesses and didn't take either one of the guys that he talked
You
about?
sound
all
like
week?
every
I didn't
average
take Colin,
golfer
and
out
I didn't
there.
take Jason Day.
Second guessing their shot.
That's awesome. Glad I didn't take either one of those guys.
Well, I was looking back at the draft yesterday, and I don't want to even say I feel comfortable where I'm at because it was only round 1. But at the same time, I want to be like, I feel super comfortable with any of the 3
you
that
talked
I
yourself
chose.
into Cam Young, too, which was hilarious.
I almost didn't take him because he was 3,500. I'm like, I feel like that.
You're like, gosh, this is like meets qualifications for a long shot. I don't really want to do it. I feel like I'm cheating myself, not getting myself a better golfer with relative to odds. And I was just like, you like him.
Yeah,
like,
I had to take him.
How about me going with Cam?
Well, and
I'm taking the other Cam. And I didn't even want to live guy because I talked myself off of Koepka. So it's fine.
And the other thing with that, too, is
It happens.
I didn't want the feeling you're feeling about Morikawa, Jason Day, which is the only reason I took Cam Young at the end of the day, was so that I didn't have to feel like, I'm going to regret
cheered
it.
over Colin a couple of days ago because our experts liked him. And I'm like, yep. But late, 11th and a half hour, I overthought it.
Yeah, because you weren't ever on Will Zalatoris.
Nope.
Ever.
Nope.
It just kind of came as a surprise.
Nope. Talking to people I trust.
Yeah, but we'll see if you still trust them.
Yeah, they're my
this.
guys, both of them. They're part of the crew.
They're on the poo list.
Yeah. Hey, so Coach Freund, he was funny yesterday. We were just talking while I was watching practice, and he's like, well, you'd be in good shape if you like my other picks. And I was like, I don't want to fast forward to those. I'm stuck on the Zalatoris thing, and my man is out.
Hey, you would have been in good shape. You could have given me 13 other people, and I would have been in good shape.
Because he talked me off Hideki. But then he takes him in a top 5 finish or a top 10 finish.
Matsuyama?
Yeah.
That's I feel like that's more of a stretch.
I don't know.
From him?
10.
Top 10, I'm sorry. Okay, I thought you said top 5.
I think it was around even.
He's what, 2 under?
Yeah.
After
it's pretty much what he does at Augusta.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, oh, great.
But he's a 1 and 2 rounder.
And we talked through that whole deal, right? Shane somehow had him at, I don't know what side he was using.
Yeah, he had him at 28.
28. And I was like, I got him at 38. You're like, I got him at 44.
Right.
I was like, what side is he on?
Yeah, Shane's not using DraftKings or FanDuel.
Man.
I don't know. I mean,
he's using his own.
Rom seems to be doing pretty good.
Oh, here we go.
Pretty well.
Pretty well for Tony. I mean, at 3 under. I mean,
he's about to
now
say
Fleetwood,
-3.
Now Fleetwood, I don't know where he's at. I couldn't find him.
He kind of fell.
Yeah.
Yep.
Fleetwood Mac, not so good.
His game came and went in a hurry. 2
Tommy.
years ago, he was going to be the guy.
Well, I remember when Ricky was the guy for a while, and then
You talking about Flat Bill or Fowler?
Yeah.
That was years ago.
Yeah, but I still remember how he came and fell.
Yeah.
Right? Instantly.
I went from
gold. It was absolute gold.
I went from not wanting to. This is obviously 10 years ago, but I went from not wanting to cheer for Ricky Fowler because of the image and the pastels and maybe in super shallow to now I want him to win. Like I used to call him Ricky Flatbill. I never even called him Fowler because I hated the look. I was like, get over yourself, DB. I was like, now I want him to win.
Well, he seems a little bit more grown up now.
Yeah. And
a little more mature.
Hey, speaking of pastels, how about Victor Hovland's polo yesterday?
Hovland's a stud. He couldn't give a what.
I mean, he looked like he was wearing something that could have been hung in the Louvre.
Hey, listen, you fire 7 under, you go out there, you couldn't be naked, but you can wear what you want to wear or not wear what you want to wear.
Yeah, it could be naked.
Yeah.
So, but if you want to wear a Speedo, it's cool.
So back in the day, were you a Payne Stewart fan?
No, I'm not a Knickers
because of the look.
Yeah, it's not my deal.
Even though he was wearing NFL.
Yeah, I just I didn't. I don't know. You're young and you're impressionable, and I'm pretty immature, so I'm like, well, grown men shouldn't be dressing like that. I wasn't thinking about what they do in other countries. I mean, I wasn't that savvy at the time, so I was just like, I just think he looks weird.
Well, it was a marketing thing, I'm sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure he was getting paid well.
I mean, who doesn't wear knickers? Kind of like bloomers, but they're not bloomers really.
Yeah, I don't know if you'd catch me dead in those, but I do wear some weird stuff.
Well,
I used to wear,
unless you're upright in the casket, I wouldn't know what you were wearing on the bottom. So,
hey, what's down there?
yeah, I would never. I'm mortified.
No, I used to wear velvet suit jackets.
What is that? Velvet?
Yep, velvet.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, you got to laugh from the audience.
They know the line. Oh, velvet, huh?
Velvet suit jackets.
How'd that go?
I used to wear a fedora.
Why am I not surprised?
Well, because Neil Caffrey wore a fedora.
Oh Lord.
White collar. We always go back to white collar, DB.
Not surprised in the least.
That was fashionable.
Is that what you call it?
Oh, I know. I remember.
Some guys can be too cool for school.
Exactly.
Hey, and you know what? People, if you hype me up, I'm going to feel good about it. So, like, I would wear the velvet suit jacket when I'd go broadcast Lindenwood basketball games, and the coaching staff would always dap me up.
Not really.
Exactly.
I could prove it.
Not really.
We'll get them on the line right now. Get them on the line. I spoke to one of them actually the other day, and it has something to do with local recruiting / transfer portaling. Which we can talk a little bit with Mike Sautter when we get to 9 o'clock. Something I do want to pick your brain about.
What's that?
Is this visit to Wisconsin, though? Because Luke Fickell is an interesting man.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people out there would be interested to hear how he coaches and get some insight there. You have a new coach in Nebraska. You have a new coach at Wisconsin.
Similarities.
How do they compare? How do they differ? Can we get into that? Are you cool with opening up about that?
Yeah, I'm cool.
Let's do that next.
If you're cool, I'm cool.
Oh, it's all about you being cool.
Be cool, man. That was cool.
I can ask the question.
That was Apollo Creed to Rocky.
I can ask the question, but if you don't want to answer, that segment's not going to go very far.
Yeah, no comment.
All right, sick. Hey, also, hopefully you studied up on your Masters trivia.
Oh,
That's
Lord.
coming later. I tossed an NHL question, too. That's at 9:30. We'll be back, though.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Welcome back. Coffee and Cream in the morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency. I'm drinking the Beanery currently. We appreciate them. They provide the coffee every Friday and are the official coffee sponsor of the show. 4 locations, Gretna, Papillion, Ashland, and the new one off 168th and Giles. Very good coffee, and you should come down and get a cup of Joe. Maybe DB will get a cup of Joe in a rematch in trivia later on today.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned about that.
Well, I don't know. Joe was sitting next to me on the couch last night and goes, one of the questions better be whose grandson hit a hole-in-one at blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, that's not on this list.
And who am I? Am I playing against Joe?
Maybe.
I don't know.
You may play against Clara.
I don't feel real confident.
Oh, yeah, we do have Candelier.
Yeah, not feeling good today.
Maybe we take the youngin'?
Alex, I don't know. Why, man, just knocking out coffee.
How about the national champion?
That's the thing with hockey guys, even though they're young. I mean, they've been out of the house since they're like 11.
Yep.
So it's like he's just
I know.
grown.
I did notice he was drinking coffee.
Yeah, I was looking at that too.
Boss.
Total boss.
Like he
move.
definitely runs the mob of his hockey team.
Yeah, well, he's dragging dad around, that's for sure.
Speaking of national champions, it's something that Nebraska aspires to be. And this new coach, maybe it's him that leads them back to national championship realm. But to get there, you have to compete with the best of the best, and a new program. Well, a current program has a new coaching staff as well, and it was where you were over the weekend. It's Wisconsin, Luke Fickell, brand new guy. I'm curious to know just your initial thoughts right away, and then I'll follow up with what I want to follow up with. But your initial thoughts on Coach Fickell.
Yeah, he was fantastic. Good staff, good young staff. I thought, Tressel was good. Hilcher, their secondary coach, I liked a ton. Real good energy at practice. They had a couple guys in. Orlando Pace's son. paid him a visit from St. Louis. He's at St. Louis High School, which I did not know.
Which I actually didn't know. St. Louis SLU High was that good. I mean, you hear...
Yeah, because Wingo's there, right?
Wingo's there.
Ryan Wingo?
You hear about, East St. Louis. You hear about the Bellevues across the border. Then you hear about CBC and some of the private schools a little more west of St. Louis. But you don't hear about SLU High all that much when it comes to football. And they have 2 very nice recruits coming out of that school.
Yeah, and so we that was probably the cool part of the trip. I think Micah hooping with Chucky was the other cool part. But, because he missed 2 hours of that whole thing just because he was at the Kohl Center getting shots.
And then the tour bus went and picked him up.
Yeah, which was really cool. So good on Chucky for looking out. But it's just interesting to kind of pick his brain, right? Where, he's an Ohio State guy. He's in Wisconsin. It's the relationships that he's built, to their athletic director. Coach Fickle was an Ohio State guy. Jim Tressel's uncle was, Mark Tressel's uncle was Jim Tressel. So that all these ties, and we just were talking about, is it awkward? And he's totally comfortable in his own skin, Orlando Pace, and he didn't.
How can you not be?
He didn't really pay it any mind. He said, he's just kind of going through the process, and son's a tight end. In that
Big boy
area.
too.
So we spent a lot. So I spent a good chunk of time. Me, like when you get dads and sons, and there's similar situation. Like I'm just taking notes.
Did you ask for the photo?
No.
You're not much of a photo guy.
No, I'm not. Their director of recruiting, who I like, Pat, he's like, hey, let's get a shot. Let's get a shot of you guys. So we took. Yeah, I'm not volunteering probably to.
I didn't know if you were just sending me my St. Louis Ram.
No, I'm not. I'm not volunteering. He just is such a giant man, and he's lost a considerable amount of weight. So he looked kind of like a hooper.
You kind of came up to, I would say, his
armpit,
peck.
maybe.
Yeah.
He's a big man, big man.
So his boy's big too.
Yeah, he's not like physically. I looked at him, and he's just. He's young. He's a 2025. So he's probably going to grow quite a bit, but good kid. Asked some funny questions in the academics portion. He's like, is there any majors that you don't recommend?
That's actually a good question, though.
It kind of got a little chuckle, but it was a good question. But the practice was crisp, really good tempo. They were in half rack, but moved really, really brisk.
What are the similarities between Coach Rhule?
They have a ton.
They
have a ton. So tempo's one. I think the common terminology that all the players use is what you want, right? So, like for instance, one of their receivers, he'll make a play, and ball go out of bounds, right? It's on the ground. Defense immediately scoop, right? Like it's out of plays dead, but the ball's on the ground. So they just have these habits that they say. They use the same words. You can tell when they talk to each other. They finish each other's sentences with like plays, it's like, hey, that's a tip. And everybody's like, must get, like a ball in the air. So you can tell like there's there's common language, which, I love. And the cool thing is, just talking to Coach Rhule probably a couple weeks ago, maybe last week. And, he's asking Caleb about something. And Caleb's like, yeah, I'm going to head to here and here and go up to Wisconsin. And he's like, and he was very complimentary of Coach Fickle, which
Coach Rhule was.
Yeah. Right. You just talk about a guy that's comfortable in his own skin. It's Coach Rhule, right? He wasn't like, he said, good things, and a known Fick and this, that, and the other, and kind of sang his praises. And so it was like cool that a guy is so secure in what they're doing and where they're at that he's not afraid to give credit where credit is due. But I thought the staff was fantastic.
Now, so the situation for Caleb's interesting and unique, I would say, because the person recruiting him at Wisconsin initially is not there anymore.
Yeah.
And then
that was Jim Leonard. He liked Leonard a ton. But it's similar things, right? Because Caleb liked Chins quite a bit.
Right. And that's what I was going to say. The same thing applies at Nebraska. So I'm not going to ask you to give your opinion on what he's thinking, but as a recruit, how is it better that you're going in at fresh at kind of like two different places?
So I think the thing that's got Wisconsin back in the thick of it is they came immediately and reoffered. Right. So they came back to the school on that first open period and reoffered. And Coach Mitchell, Matt Mitchell, who's from Grand Valley, came up and he coaches linebackers, insides, I think he's got, and reoffered. And they had a really, really, really in-depth conversation, a different kind of recruiting. I mean, they asked him some tough questions.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, he kind of gravitated towards that and said that he wanted to go in the spring. So, I mean, we went and it was good. I liked, they know they could be a problem, right? And they have three really good quarterbacks. And Mordecai's athletic.
Yeah, one of the best in the Big Ten.
Kind of sneaky athletic. Like they practice with such pace.
We'll just see how that offense translates to his game.
Yeah, they're not like real sudden, like athletic, but it was really cool. They talked about kind of their defensive philosophies. These are in the one-on-ones, and they used his high school clips to simulate what they were talking about. It was
that's cool.
It was 12 minutes of it.
I mean, it shows you did your homework on the guy.
Yeah, see those kinds of things.
That's
the kind of stuff that Eric, the Chins would, that they would do that kind of got him. Those things matter. Because you can envision how you're going to be utilized.
I appreciate you breaking down that visit. It's cool to hear the different perspectives there, and it's also good to give Nebraska fans an inside look about how Wisconsin's doing their business. Yeah. Let's talk Ryan Nembhard next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, before we talk about the big news coming out of Creighton, I want to take a moment and give a shout out to our friends over at Dingman's Collisions Center. Dingman's not only is family owned, family run, and we like to support family and local on this show, but they have this give back program for every car repaired, and it's just such a great initiative on how they take your recommendation. When you go in, you drop off your car, you pick it up after the service is done, you get to then decide where Dingman's is going to donate money. And that is just one of the coolest things I've ever seen a company do. And I always like giving them a shout out just for that.
Yeah, they have like 3 different organizations, and they kind of do it monthly. And you get a little, they give you the paper so you can see what the organization's about. Then you get a little like pebble, like a marble deal, and you get to put it in the jar. And so they tally the jars at the end of the month for the organization. It's pretty cool. It is pretty cool.
You don't see a lot of businesses do that.
No.
You have a lot that donate, but you don't let the consumer choose who they donate to. And I think that's the coolest feature to the whole thing. If you have a problem with your car, go over to Dingman's. I am up for an oil change. I will be heading over to Dingman's next week to get that done. So excited for that. Now, just more excited for the experience. I have to really see what's inside the green and gray building. It looks beautiful on the outside, but I'm like, what does it look like on the inside? Is it like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory?
Lot going on in there. Just ask for Seth. He's the man.
Seth. All right.
Yeah. I'm telling you.
It's in the vault. Seth.
Super kind.
I'm looking for Seth.
Super kind. They had like 3 or 4 guys in there rocking Husker gear too, so it was all good.
Now, the big news.
So he was like, "That's your daddy's school." I was like, "Are you talking to Caleb? Or are you talking to me? Like, who's daddy?" Like, I'm dad. Like, you confused?
Who's the DY?
Hey, you never know, man. It's weird out here.
No, I would hope we know. I would hope we know.
Hey, never know.
Hey.
Excuse me, sir. Wait, what? Huh?
Who?
No,
You're all about smiles and laughter on a Friday, huh? It feels good.
Yeah, no idea.
Going into the weekend, Easter weekend. Good Friday today.
Driving 12 hours.
It's got to be a good day.
Driving 12 and a half, 13 hours and 36 hours is not ideal.
Quick side note, Mike Sautter walked in, and I thought his shirt said briskets, not buckets, for a second there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why the heck is he wearing a briskets shirt?
He wanted the corned beef brisket, maybe.
Maybe.
That's what it is. I don't know.
Get you a plate.
Yeah.
He's up next, but before we get to him.
Talk portaling.
Awesome. Let's start with Ryan Nembhard. The news coming at a shock to a lot of people, but I'm going to give credit where credit's due. Ravi on the show yesterday, filling in for you, said, why is everybody kind of solidifying Nembhard into this lineup next year?
Yeah, so he sent me a text Wednesday night, and I'm obviously in Madison, and he said, "Are you hearing Nembhard to Arizona?" And I just kind of chuckled. I was just like, "This dude is on it. He is on it." And listen, I mean, it's tampering, not tampering, whatever.
What's tampering?
There's really no such thing. I mean, it just is what it is, right? I mean, those guys that got a really good relationship with Lloyd from when Lloyd was at Gonzaga with his older brother, and I mean, it's just kind of how it goes.
He must be getting paid.
Yeah, I don't.
NIL money has to be there.
I won't speculate. I do think
because you don't leave Creighton unless for that reason.
Yeah, I do think it's a financial deal. But I mean, they're gonna have some good pieces. Now they underachieved. They're gonna have to get over kind of that part of it. But I definitely think it Mac was kind of blindsided by it. I also think that Arizona had that in the works for a while.
Yeah, you don't just pull something off that quickly.
Nope.
Because the reports, when you start hearing reports, the rumors, if they last a long time, tends to be the beginning of the process. If they happen in 48 hours, it doesn't work like that. That's been in the works for months.
And I haven't had time to be a real Berean, but I mean the popular question to answer is, do you go back to Sharif Mitchell and say something different? Because Sharif tweeted out his top 4 yesterday, and knowing what you know now, 48 hours later, does that change? But you can't really. I mean, you could, but you probably wouldn't recommend going back to that wishing well, because I'm not sure that's the answer either. Especially after he wants to. They think he's looking for a change of scenery, but that lineup all of a sudden could change in a hurry, because we already thought we would be missing Kaluma. At least I think.
Yeah,
we'll be missing Kaluma.
The big.
Now you're going to be missing Nembhard. You'll have to wait on Trey Alexander to let him go through the
decision.
Let him go through the evaluation process. I still think you get Kalk back. I'm kind of firm in that. How's that sound? Kind of firm, like scrambled eggs.
I would say I'm more firm in Shireman returning versus knowing what Trey Alexander's status is.
Yeah,
Shireman apparently graduated last year, right?
He's living a good life, and I think there's still some things that you can work on in your game. Now he's going to be older. He's going to have to worry about the age thing a little bit, but if Hendon Hooker doesn't have to worry about it in football, then Shireman shouldn't worry about it in basketball. But I mean, the portal is an interesting place. Lots of rumors, lots of innuendos, and which is why we sometimes talk to Mike Sautter, who I'm sure is stressed that he's the conduit between coaches that he's developed relationships with that call and say, what do you know? What do you know? What's the latest? I mean, just on Sharif alone, I bet I got, I don't know, 7 different texts. And I'm not in that world as much as our ball-headed stop sign friend over there with the bucket shirt. But
Brisket.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot.
Putting him on the spot, yeah. So it's tampering. I don't even know if there is such a thing. I would get over that.
There's tampering. It's just a norm.
I would just get over
tampering
it.
at all levels.
It's not a. It's
NIL just makes it easier now.
Yeah. And I will say this, I think, and I can we'll ask Sautter about it. I think in being well immersed in this AAU world the last 6 years, seeing a ton, being at 3 Stripe, Nike, EYBL. I just think that world is easier to play in for hoopers. It just is. You change jerseys a lot more frequently in the summer and summer basketball than you do in almost any other sport. So swapping schools, I mean, look at the portal numbers for Division I basketball schools. It's staggering. and you see it.
You would also take it in a good way, though. At the same time, Nembhard leaving or entering the portal, you'll probably be able to find a replacement to go play basketball at Creighton. And it shouldn't be difficult.
But here's the thing, though, with them, there has to be some familiarity because Mac's a big culture guy, and he's obviously not going to compromise NIL, right? I mean, it is what it is. They have one of the best NIL structures, I think, in the country.
Mm-hmm.
It's very self-explanatory. Even the minimums are great.
Well,
so I think they'll give themselves a chance, but he's not just going to take anybody.
And I think that's probably why Trey stays around.
Well,
because if you look at where he could go in the draft, if he does want to take it to the next level, he may be better off staying in college.
I just don't think Coach Mac's going to get into
money-wise.
I just don't think Coach Mac's going to get into a bidding war. He's just not that kind of guy. So you hope it doesn't come down to that. And we'll see, but there's a lot of dominoes that could move, right? If Trey comes back and he plays the point, is that
you open up a spot for a shooter?
Is that advantageous to a guy like Latrell Wright, though, right?
And I think it is.
So
because he's got that what you said, that so-called tradition in the program with his dad.
Yeah, he's a legacy guy, right? And I shouldn't say that. I'm going to stop saying legacy because most of the kids don't like that, right? We in the media say legacy. The offspring don't like the term. Yeah, so that he, because Latrell's not a guy that's going to play the point guard spot, and I don't think Hunter Salas is a natural point. There's just a lot of fits that have to work. I don't get the sense that Chucky Hepburn is going to be on the move, so I know that rumor's out there. I don't get that sense, especially after spending an inordinate amount of time with him the last.
And having your
6 days.
12-year-old spend a couple hours with him.
Well, he's the man in Wisconsin. He is the man. He's on billboards. He's got the digital advertising. We walked through the academic counseling center, and they got his pictures up. Now, that's not to say that I'm well versed in the relationship with how he feels about Coach Gard, because ultimately, I think mental health is important, right? So as long as he doesn't hate his coach,
right, he's well off in Wisconsin.
He's doing really. I mean, he's. Quick side note: so my little guy's hooping at the Kohl Center, which is probably It's a quarter of a mile from. It's quarter of a mile from where we were, where the bus left for the campus tour. I said that my little guy was at the Kohl Center with Chucky. They stopped the bus on the tour so we could pick Micah up. Like, it's not part of the tour. They went to go get him.
So great.
Because the bus driver wanted to see Chucky Hepburn.
And Micah just steps on the bus like I'm the man.
No big deal. Backpack, ball in hand. Like that's the legend. That's the prowess of Chucky Hepburn in Madison.
Mike Sautter up next.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Oh, yeah, no doubt, no doubt.
Mike Sautter.
I would agree, Damon.
Mike Sautter.
Yeah.
Mike Sautter.
Oh, man, you're going to put me on the spot.
Mike Sautter.
It's that time. We get to talk to Mike Sautter like we do every Friday here on Coffee and Cream in the Morning on Hail Varsity Radio, powered by Currency, live from the H&H Chevrolet stage at Hail Varsity Club. Live breakfast. Quick shout-out time. The fam has arrived.
Yeah, that's it. That is a good group right there.
It's the entire, not the entire fam. And we have the little one, the 2-year-old here with us too.
Great to see you.
The oldest sister is back home.
I don't know
brother-in-law.
all the ins and outs yet. I'm not so sure you're the nicest one of the bunch.
I'm not.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so that's my read.
Yeah.
I'm like, everybody else is so cool. What happened?
Yeah. Ouch. I thought we were going nice, not cool.
Well, it's somewhere between a 1 and a 10.
In
right?
regards to,
so you're not all the way not cool, but like it's a very very nice family.
That's the nice way of saying, like, Andrew, like,
you're kind of the tough one.
You think you're an 8, but you're really a 4.
Well, you're kind of the tough one.
I can be challenging.
Is that
yeah?
Is that what you're known for amongst that group?
The tough one. I could kick some butt.
That kind of seems like. Does your temperament go?
No, I'm normally pretty chill. Like, I'm really relaxed.
Well, especially if you're around your brother. He's the cool one.
Well, no, he could sit on me.
Wow, that's what we're on today.
He's 6'2". He probably weighs about 40 pounds more than I do. Like, he could beat my bum.
Yeah.
He's kind of like a Weapon X hybrid type of a guy.
Weapon X hybrid type of a guy.
Yeah.
We did not get into that press conference near enough as we welcome in the man.
No, we did not get into
the myth, the legend.
We only got into about 1% because we only get 1% better every day. Mike Sautter here with us.
Kind of like you gain 1% of pounds every month.
Every 6
Everybody
months.
just gets kind of stealthy, man. How you been?
Been good.
Busy. How many texts in the last week? Over under 500.
It's
regarding transfer portal?
Yeah, over. I'll go with over, right? Because I get it, and I'm not even that dude.
Yeah.
It's a lot. Like, that's why I just, last night I was working and I was like, okay, I'm just going to put everything I know in a post on, once again, the very free website, nebpreps.com. That I was like, I'm just putting all the guts in here that I know from whether it's Josiah Alec, we forget that kid's pretty good. He's in the portal. Nebraska involved there, along with San Diego State, who obviously was just in the Final Four. And then Mayun Baum, who somehow has like 3 years left of eligibility.
It's weird. I started to do that math in my head. I was like, wasn't that 17?
That was a while ago, yeah. He spent 4 years at Emporia and only played 2 of them.
Yeah, it was 17 or 18.
Yeah, so 2 or 3. But yeah, he's old. But he is actually on a visit to Green Bay this weekend. So
UW at Green Bay.
Yeah, Sundance Wicks is a name people are familiar with around here, I guess, because he was the head coach at Missouri Western. Really high energy guy and all that stuff. So Omaha, South Dakota, Wyoming also involved with him. So yeah, and then about every day, it's what's Chucky going to do? I hear he's leaving. That's been like for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
I heard you, Damon. Like, I think he's staying. At this point, I think he's staying.
Yeah.
All indications.
Yeah, it feels like he's going to stay, and for a number of different reasons. One, NIL is pretty good for him. I think life is pretty good there, and he's the man there. So, what do you Creighton has a starting point guard spot open, but
I don't know. I'm totally
right.
Even though I know him as well as anyone, I'm speculating.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't strike me as the type of guy that's chomping at the bit to come close to home.
No, I think
he likes being his own guy. He's super mature.
He's always been that way.
Along those lines, Wisconsin doesn't play like Creighton plays. Creighton plays through all 5. Like, if the ball needs to be in somebody's hands up in Wisconsin, it's in Chucky's hands. So when you say he likes to be his own guy, if he were to come to Creighton, he'd have to really adjust his style of play.
I just think, I don't know. I think it takes a unique fit with him because he's a unique player. He's as smart or smarter than he is talented, and he's as mature as he is all 3 of the things. So he's not just going to hop into a new spot and be told what to do if, he doesn't trust you.
Right.
He's got a lot of basketball life, comes from basketball lineage. He's very mature. He's not going to make any irrational decisions. Like, he's just not
the
because he knows the grass is, and he was loyal as a kid.
Yeah,
he was loyal he could have teamed. He could have done a lot of different things when he was handpicked as a 5th grader, but he didn't. He's just kind of a loyal, good-natured guy.
Just the speculation the last 2 months, or maybe more, has been, he's going to come back and play with, him and Hunter are going to go to Nebraska. That's the biggest rumor. And I just don't. I will say this unequivocally, that ain't happening.
Yeah.
There's less than 0 chance of that happening.
And why would you at this stage in their career? Because remember, both guys want. Here's the thing about both guys that I know for sure that people have to keep in mind. Neither guy needs the exposure and accolades of fanfare. Their goal is
past that now.
Their goal is to continue to play basketball at a high level.
Right.
So it's not about the pomp and circumstance. That's neither one of them is looking for that.
If they wanted it, they could have already had it.
Right.
They could have just done it.
Yeah, it's not about being adored at Creighton or going to spring games at Nebraska. That's just not what it's about for either one of those guys. Yeah. They want to play basketball at a high level and get paid to do so.
Now, Sautter, let's talk Hunter Salas and every offer that you've or I shouldn't say offer. Every school he's been in contact with or either been interested in him, because it seems like every post that you have, at least once a day, there's 2 more schools added to his list.
That was at the beginning of the week.
Well, how about? And I'll let you get to it. How about Wrightsville just changing in 6 hours?
Yeah, flipped hard. Yeah.
From initial contact to where we're at now.
Yeah. I mean,
about 6 hours.
As far as Hunter goes, and I posted obviously this morning, and this is about as breaking news of intel. I haven't seen it anywhere. No one knows it until I guess I posted this morning. Nebraska is flying out there
Right.
Coach Hoiberg
Easter.
and Nate Lesnar is flying out there on Easter Sunday. So that tells you how much they want to get. That's Easter Sunday. I mean, it's a big deal. So Wake Forest is Steve Forbes is flying out there to do it in home. When I say flying out, I mean to Spokane. Wake Forest is doing one today or tomorrow.
I think they're tonight, right?
Yeah. So that's another kind of key piece. I think with Hunter, it's what do you want at this point, right? I think the development piece is huge. I think he physically wasn't probably developed like I guess him or his
talking about
family,
nutrition, strength conditioning.
Gonzaga doesn't have a nutritionist. Their weight room is average at best. Like all those things, you would think that with their success that they've had, that they would have those things, and they didn't. And they frankly, like, they don't care what kids eat for dinner or whatever. So it's like that's totally different mindset. And
you know what's funny about that? Stay right there just for a second. I'll let you finish. You know what's funny about that? I told you Coach Rhule and Coach Fickle have some similarities, right?
Yep.
So first two things. What's the first thing that both those guys did along the lines of what Mike Sauter's talking about? Wiped out the nutrition.
Right. Yeah.
Brought in and doing their own thing from a sustenance, nutrition, how to fuel the body standpoint. It's the first thing almost both guys did.
It's so important. So that
doubt to me about that.
So don't sleep on that aspect because it's huge.
Yeah, and yes, Hunter grew right because he just matured. He's still only 20. I mean, he just turned 20 like 2 weeks ago. So that I think is important. Arizona called the room. That's the big rumor. I don't think that's a real possibility right now.
Well, Arizona's could potentially take on 3 new guys.
Right. But I think they already kind of know, is what I'm hearing, I guess, with that. So a couple of schools to look out for here is Georgetown and St. John's. And Georgetown because, it's Georgetown, and frankly, they should have won a heck of a lot more than they have the last 10, 15 years.
I also think
and Ed Cooley is, I will say this, relentless recruiter.
So, and here's the funny thing about that, and I didn't even tell you this yesterday when you called me in on the way back from Madison, but I did tell Andrew and our listeners, Cooley's got one more hire to make.
Could it be
that I think is going to be very important in that?
Yeah. So you have that. St. John's is the Patino effect. I think the family kind of really likes him. I think this decision is all about preparing Hunter what's best for the future of basketball after college.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I feel like this decision is going to be. Now, if it's not that decision, or if there's more to it than that, and he just wants to be a really good college basketball player, win games, help school, all those things, then okay, I could see other schools probably more to the forefront. But right now, I would say, this is just my opinion, I would say that Nebraska, before he entered the portal, I would have said there's probably likely very small chance.
Yeah, but more.
I would say right now.
8 days ago, it was 6 days ago, it was a long shot.
Yeah.
Now, not so much.
Now it's very much so a real possibility.
I would agree.
To come back to Nebraska, I would say very much so a real possibility. So, but obviously others are going to try really hard, and it's probably going to be a little bit about relationships too, like who recruited him the first time around, where are those assistants at now? Dayton was a school because their assistant coach was at Iowa State, and he's the one that recruited Hunter when he was at Iowa State and when Hunter was in high school. So those sort of relationships, they'll fall back on.
Where would you?
Drake obviously was a name, but I can't see that one happening.
Yeah, DeVries is going to be a hot commodity.
Yeah, yeah.
So I don't know how long he could tell guys he's going to stay there. Because I bet in the last. I'm not even going to say this.
Well, DeVries. Oh, by the way, today's his birthday. But Coach DeVries. He was It was Jerome Tang and Darren DeVries for K-State last year. Like he's turned down options. Like he's got options, and
trust me, I agree with you.
I think he's waiting for
something,
one or two or three.
So not along those lines, but to move on, because I want to go back to Creighton here in a second. How do you think if you're Latrell Wrightsell and Sharif Mitchell, right? Because Sharif tweeted out his top 4. If you're either one of those local guys, what do you think each is looking for?
Well,
because Wrightsell put up big numbers.
I talked to both, obviously, and asked because, hey, if people are calling me, I need to, what do you want me to tell them? So
I always like how you sell that because that's how you get me too. Because I don't even because we're friends. Like I shouldn't be scooping you and vice versa.
Right.
But when he calls me, it's even Caleb yesterday was like, "What takes him so long?" I go, "That's just his delivery."
Yeah. Wrightsell is wanting I think a similar type of role, but I don't know if he can get that at a higher level. He put up huge numbers. He can really, really, really shoot. I know a school like Iowa State is very much so, and they can't score.
Yeah.
So they need scoring. It's just a matter of what is he?
He needs to play
more of
an off-the-ball
guy.
Right? If he played with a ball distributor,
he would be fantastic.
He's going to get buckets.
Yeah, I mean, and
he moves without the ball really well.
And Fullerton did a great job of developing him.
Yeah, your guys at Fullerton, right?
Alabama, Arkansas, Iowa State, Minnesota, Nebraska, Ole Miss are the ones that he said he's going to do Zoom calls with in the next couple of days. But the list is super long of the schools that
at this point you rule out Creighton for Wrightsell, right?
Ooh, I don't know. I mean, his dad played there. There's something about that, about coming back home and being.
I don't. He doesn't strike me as an Omaha guy either.
But I will say this: is there a little bit of you want me now, but you didn't before?
Yeah, I mean that's kind of part of it.
Yeah, I think there's a little bit of that. So, Charlie will be pretty interesting to see what shakes out there. I feel like an Iowa State would be a pretty good fit.
With Reef, do you look at the Sunrise North Texas connection?
Yeah, but here's something with that is their assistant is probably going to follow Coach McCaslin to Texas Tech.
Could.
I think that's pretty much I feel good about that one happening. So Ohio, there's these little connections on all 4 of the schools. Bradley, Mike Bargan recruits a lot.
Which is what I told
the
you
Omaha guy
early with Reef. Look for connections of people in his former life for that decision.
Right. Kind of like a flip-flop from Trell and Mitchell, right? Mitchell's cool with still going with the Omaha tie if it does cause him to take a little bit of a step down in regards to.
I think Omaha's and I think Omaha you have to consider just because he respects Adrian.
Yeah.
As an athletic director. You have really good relationships with Crutch and Coach Crandall, who his dad is very well connected with. So, I mean,
Bradley is Mike Bargan, who was at UNO when his dad was there. So they're leaning on those relationships. In Ohio, is Jalen Hunter, who played at Prep, if you remember. Like Jalen Hunter is at Ohio. Sharif and Jalen Hunter, AAU teammates. So there's all these. There's these 4: the North Texas, Bradley, Ohio, and Omaha.
There's little connections.
There's little connections. I think it's gonna be important. I think NIL may be important here too, a little bit.
Well, I feel like I think it was so good at Creighton.
That's what I'm
for
saying.
Him. That
and Bradley has a very good NIL.
If you're gonna make the leap, you have to. It's almost like subconsciously you have to make it worth your while. Even though I don't think it was important. I won't use the word spoiled, but it was very good at Creighton.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to leave, you don't want to take a step back.
Right.
But you're not saying that it's like.
Right. But maybe you want to be the guy,
the end all be all. First and foremost, I think he wants to play.
Yeah. No, I think
but nobody wants to give up money.
Right.
So it happens to be in play there.
I think a 20-minute a game thing is important for him.
And he's good.
Yeah. He's fine. He's one of the best defenders. He has been for.
He could make them
since he was a little kid.
He could if he ended up in Omaha, he could be.
So I got to sneak in
He'll
two.
start.
I got to sneak
really
in two quick
special
things.
player. Oh, he would start for sure.
Trout, Mason Miller, Jason Green. Problem, no problem.
How do you is Trout more of the 4 and you're developing Green into
Trout physically is a lot different than when he left.
Yeah.
I think he looks fantastic, but he's much bigger than I think people remember
is he
him.
like the 4 and Jason and Mason Miller kind of the 3, but then like who do they guard is kind of the question. So
You could see that coexisting.
yeah, I think so. Yeah,
Just
I
Creighton
think they're a little bit. Each one's a little bit different.
If you're Creighton, do you go out and have to get a point guard now?
100%.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Unless
You move Trey to the point.
Trey stays and he's a point. Like that.
Yeah.
That's the only time you don't.
It worked for 6 games in the postseason.
Yeah.
Here's something that to think about. Really, is just staying local and changing gears here. But Josiah Alec, Latrell Wrightsell, and Hunter Salas, all at Nebraska. That would be something.
It would.
That team would be pretty
That'd be
good.
cool.
So I want to transition to football, but I want to use a football guy because when you hung up the phone yesterday on the way back from Madison, Caleb asked if you could make the case that local basketball has had more of an impact on the national scene than local football. Is there something? He's not as well versed as we are, but I think on the surface with his sphere of influence, right?
I think that's probably really fair.
Yeah, I think there's something to that.
Here it goes back to.
Would that not blow your mind though? Like, just think about that for a second.
It would blow my mind because this is football state. But when I take a look, and this is from somebody that just got here, right? Just landed and has been here for a year. She
is something else.
She is. I know she's just having the time of her life. You look at how many players went to FBS? Like 14 football.
Yeah.
You look at that.
Made an impact right away, or
and people,
like he's seriously contemplating.
And
this.
people kind of sleep on the 14. It's relatively a big number, but then I talk to more people and they're like, yeah, Omaha's becoming a basketball state. I hear people, city, but just Nebraska's becoming a basketball state. Nebraska's becoming a basketball state. And I'm like, yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, some of the best AAU players in the country play here.
It goes back to, the last, when we talked, we hit the top of the mountain that we've ever hit in the last 5 years, right? We were at the top of the mountain as far as talent in Nebraska. But one of 3, I guess, eras of the top of the mountain. You can argue which one's the best. Mm-hmm. This what we just went through, like 18, 19, 20, 21, 91, 92 era, 90, 91, 92, 93, and then 81, 82. All these guys are in college right now.
Selfishly, do you know what I hope happens? I hope Josiah Dotzler balls his brains out, turns into this prolific point guard, and he's the guy.
Yeah.
Like that'd be fantastic.
How sweet would that be?
That would be awesome.
Because now all of a sudden the door is wide open for Dotzler.
It's true. That would be something.
And nobody's talking about that.
And he can draw his own way.
And leave it to Caleb because he's, his guys. He's like, man. He's like, Josiah could be the man. And I'm driving. We're not even to like.
We're not
even to Cedar Rapids exit yet. And I'm like, you know what? Go JD. Like, that's what I was thinking. I was like,
he's also a tick older, right? So
and
he's
very mature.
Yes. Like, can he handle that?
I'm like, go Josiah. Oh, he's played it.
No, I know.
But here's it. I'm not fast forwarding because D1 is D1.
Yeah.
But he's played in a lot of big time environments, and he's a winner.
He's hit some big shots.
He's a winner.
They need to rein in some stuff a little bit, like he over dribbles at times. But they
fine.
can figure that stuff out.
Listen, I trust Matt.
Yeah, they can figure that stuff out. Everyone's talking about, we need a point guard, Yeah, you do, but maybe.
Going back to your initial point, though, real fast.
We may have to keep him another segment if we're not going to play this game.
Going back to your initial point, you mentioned it's becoming more of a
30 minutes of
it. Is this becoming more of a basketball area? Who would you say is the best player to come out of Omaha? Like, or at least
ever?
Like, not just like in recent years.
Recent?
Yeah, like
the one that's produced the most.
Just the best high school player to come out of Omaha.
The one that's produced the most is Chucky,
right?
Who I was riding with the whole time, and everybody was mad at me over
who would come after Chucky?
I'm just gonna go overall talent right now that hasn't reached the peak. It'd be Hunter.
Right. So we're talking about 2 guys just right now in recency, which is why a lot of people are saying
I don't know if I would
Omaha's
do that
becoming
with
basketball.
With college productivity, because I would go with my man that played in Creighton, Benson's finest. That people.
Oh yeah, Taz. Yeah,
yeah.
I was just thinking about
Kyrie,
the last couple of years, but yeah, Taz was.
Like we forget about him, I'm riding with the bunnies on that. He was way good,
way good.
And he was
way good in high school. I'll never forget AAU game. I tracked deflections. He had 6 in the first 8 minutes.
The break music. I'm pissed.
It did go fast.
I can come back.
Hey, what's the clock? What's the clock? So we have the game, and that's it, right?
And then we have Verse.
Oh. I might have to call him. He'll be pissed at me. I want to fight.
That's okay.
Got to take a quick break.
All
We got to bring him back for at least like 3 or 4 minutes.
All right, we're taking a break, and then we'll figure out where we're at.
Because I got a high school football thing that relates to basketball.
Okay, stick around. More with Mike Sautter here on Coffee and Cream. And again, still time to come to the live show. Come to HVC. We're here having some fun. We'll be back.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 5 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning. We'll be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream with Rogers and Benning on Hail Varsity Radio.
Hey, welcome back, Mike Sautter. Appreciate you sticking around. We appreciate you, David Benning, Andrew Rogers. Let's go to the phones. We have somebody that says we missed one of the best players.
Oh, we probably missed several. It was off the
it was just a quick question, and
There's
I
a lot.
kind of did generalize what we were thinking, but
let's go to Dwan.
Yeah, what's up, man?
Hey, so love the show. You guys are great. Just wanted to talk about two quick people, maybe a little bit older.
Okay.
Would be Brian Kellogg and Mike McGee.
Oh, for
Kellogg
sure.
Out of Northwest.
For
and,
sure. Right.
Mike McGee out of North High School. And then one more recent
Trotter.
would be John Tanji, who just recently transferred from Colorado State to
Missouri.
Mizzou.
Yeah.
So I know he had 1,000 points in Colorado State in his few years there. So looking forward to what he does. I'll hang up the list.
Yeah, I appreciate the call.
We appreciate you, Dewan.
So I want to preface that by saying
I asked for
that you,
recent.
recency,
And
but he's spot on. So there was
Tanji,
that trio in a 4-year span,
Right. Yeah.
And then Mike McGee was a little before that because I think he was 77, 78. But remember, they went Kellogg, Tony Manuel, Trotter,
yeah.
From like 81 to 84, where it was unbelievable. And in between there in 82 was Dave Hoppin.
Yeah.
So, like, there were
Bill Jackman.
There's some
who
dudes.
went to Duke.
Yeah. I'm a big Cedric Hunter guy. By the way, his twins.
Oh, yeah.
They may play soccer, though, I hear.
Really?
Yeah. Ced looks like he could Kansas point guard old Cedric Hunter.
Played in Final Four.
Yeah. So there were a lot. Let me ask you something real quick because I'm curious. I want to go back to the over-under total that we talked
with
about.
The power players in 2024.
Of the top 6.
Oh.
And we put that thing at 3.5, and we felt like that would be good.
Oh, from the past. I know what you're talking about.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Has that number changed in just 5 weeks' time?
Oh, man. Well, maybe.
I know you penciled in Ashton Murphy, so we can make it 7.
Still do.
I think we had 7, right?
I think it was 7.
Even though we went to Colorado
yesterday. 3.5 out of 7.
So I tell you, Boyle's not gonna relax.
No. Yeah, his connections here too.
But they'll be here on the 17th.
Do I think they get McMorris? No. Do I think they get Hall? Maybe. I still think very strongly Caleb Benning is going to be at Nebraska. Carter Nelson, I just feel like that he's going to end up being there. Caleb Pyfrom, I think, is probably a good bet. Even though he did visit Penn State recently. Wow.
Yeah, I think you said
there's more. Okay, here's another one though. Here's another guy that's coming, like very much so coming. And if Nebraska Iowa State or Nebraska pop on him, he's gonna start rolling in a lot of offers. Is Sam Thomas from Elkhorn North?
Yeah.
So,
I think another guy to watch, and that is Teddy Rizak.
Yeah,
I think he's at Boston College
on the
early next week.
21st.
Yeah, his offer started like very low end with D1 schools and work their way up to priority status.
I saw Teddy yesterday, or both of them yesterday before their baseball game, and they're not playing baseball this time, but I saw them both, and they
how big are they? Isn't
they're
that weird?
big, yeah. And Teddy's going to. He said the 21st he's going to Boston College.
So they're all three are with Tony Saturday.
Mhm.
They've got to work out Beelan.
Yeah.
And then I think they're all three are going to try to get to the Under Armour deal in Kansas City.
Yeah. So I think you got. I think you're at probably. Man.
3.5.
3.5.
Remember when it seemed low?
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm kind of listening.
That number might have to go up a little bit.
Up?
Really?
I don't know. I think maybe you can pump it to 4. Maybe.
Wow.
And
I would have went down. I did go down.
I'm not swayed at all. I am not in agreement.
I think 2 is good now.
I'm not in agreement.
This class is really good.
No, it is. Well, so now I'm starting to hear it nationally, right? Whether it's
it's really, really
Michigan,
good.
Like a lot of like this 2024 and 2025
is really good too. You go to just this 24 class. There are guys that like, I don't know, Sebastian Boyle, the running back at Scotts Bluff, like
stud.
It's probably like a Wyoming or Wayne State just offered him this morning. So like, or a D2, and that kid's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so, or does he end up in an FCS, South Dakota?
I was telling him, and this is just his personality, but, Caleb has 3 offers that he wouldn't call committable, until they come after in the middle of April.
Yeah.
He won't even tweet them out. That's how,
right.
Like it's deep.
Yeah. I think kids probably need to be more like that.
I mean, yes and no. Right?
Yeah. You need to do some of that.
But
you have to play that game.
It could benefit them in a way with other coaching staffs out there if they see, hey, this guy's got looks from X, Y, and
people
Z.
know the difference, though.
He's weird,
People
right?
know the
I'm not
difference.
mad at him or anything, right? He can do what he wants to do to some degree. But it's funny. He said we were talking about making a list of nuances. I like this guy.
Harry Caskey's a guy in the 24 class.
I really like him.
That's
By the
coming.
way, his hoop game is significantly better than I thought.
Yeah.
Big
kid.
He said we were talking about likability of coaches, right? How coaches come off, because some are very different. Some are more businessy. And he said, I'm willing to bet on myself that a coach is going to like me. I'm not going to factor that in. And I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, okay, but not okay, right? Like it sounds good, like, ooh, proud papa. But then I'm like, college is hard.
Yeah,
and you're gonna get your bell rung and not feel good, and it's gonna be hard because there are a lot of good players, and you better like somebody, right? And hopefully it's the school. So maybe it's cool that it's not about the relationships, but he said I'm willing to bet on myself. I thought that was interesting.
Good mentality.
Yeah. Well, is it confidence or naive?
Could be a little both.
Well, I think it's pretty confident, which is fair.
And I think his barometer is actually weird because it's not a football coach, but he thinks if Alvin can like him, anybody can like him. Mitchell.
Yeah.
I'm dead serious. I think he thinks, and it could be Coach Samanji here soon, but I think he thinks that is his toughest coach growing up.
I think that's probably fair.
Well, he's probably the only one that's grabbed. Even I've never grabbed
That's
him.
pretty fair.
And Alvin's grabbed him.
I mean, so we said Harry Caskey. I mean, then there's other guys like a Dash
Bauman. Dude, he's a
Ben Gustafson at Elkhorn South. If people
Can
go
I say
check
this?
out,
Can I say this about Dash?
Yeah.
And this is 100%. I'm trying to be. He's a better defensive. He was their best defensive player on the field last year at any point. That was when Coleman was playing. I'm like, why don't people look at Dash? He's a stud. He's a tough kid too. You don't have to babysit that guy.
And then, I mean, you
How'd
have
you like.
like Ben Gustafson is at Elkhorn South. That's another lineman that if people go,
Are they 3 for you? 4?
3 with me.
Preseason?
They're top 5 for sure. Yeah.
I saw Coach Rosenberg at practice. I was like, this is going to kind of sound weird, but can I just come hang out with you? God is my witness. That's exactly what I said.
Yeah.
Like, I just kind of want to spend time with people that other people want to be around.
Right.
Because I could, I can learn something.
He's smart. He's
Did
really
he tell
smart.
you no?
No, he's like anytime.
Nah,
he's
I
like,
know.
and he's so
know.
gracious. He's like, it could probably do us equal good. And I was
Right.
like, I don't know about that.
I feel like you wouldn't have asked that question if you.
Oh,
knew you were
Carson
gonna know.
Rauner is another guy, quarterback. Like, could he? Oh, he has group of 5. So can he jump up? Saw him play baseball yesterday, actually, second base. So didn't know he played baseball until yesterday.
Dude, I'm telling you, covering baseball will change your life. I know you don't agree with me now because you're used to being in the action.
It's
It's
a
been
little
big
long.
time for you. You have a super short attention span.
Yep.
But the ability to hit a ball
Oh yeah.
and then be good on the bump. And I just want you to keep this in mind as you get knee deep. We watched Christo when he was a guy.
No, yeah, I
and
watched him, yeah.
how hard college has been for him
Yeah.
now. Watch some of these guys at the baseball level in high school and then try to project. Don't make any generalizations. Baseball is a hard
It's not
sport.
hard for Cam Kozol to hit the baseball. I know
Mentally, it
I wouldn't
takes
even
a
pitch to
beating
him.
on you.
No,
Why would Southwest
pitch?
pitch to him?
Not even mess with it. He was 4 for 4, 2 home runs and 5
Another
RBI
South
yesterday.
quarterback
Second.
last year. Yeah. Listen,
And they lost 14-9 or 10 or whatever.
I played on a team like that before too.
one of his thighs are like both my legs. Dude's a monster.
Sautter, we appreciate it.
All
Man.
right.
Thanks.
Have fun with your game.
We'll be back.
Rogers and Benning will be back in 4 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 3 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 2 minutes. Rogers and Benning will be back in 1 minute. Rogers and Benning will be back in 30 seconds. Coffee and Cream on Hail Varsity Radio with Andrew Rogers and Damon Benning. Now let's find out what Matt Vrzal is better at, telling stories or making pizza.
Matt.
Matt's an exceptional young man.
Matt Vrzal.
Happy birthday, Matt.
You know, Matt, he's a tremendous athlete.
Matt Vrzal.
Come on, Matt, I'm with you.
You know, like Matt Vrzal, you're one of the sexiest people in the world, but you're not one of the most beautiful. How did that happen?
Here is Matt Vrzal.
All right, Matt, thank you very much.
Okay, you ready? We have a special guest. Say welcome back.
Welcome back.
On Coffee and Cream.
On Coffee and Cream.
Good job, Mitz. That is my 2-year-old niece making an entrance on the show. Her 30 seconds of fame, right, Mitz? Good job.
Yep, she's coming
And now
back.
she's just dancing all the way
That
over.
is Shirley Temple to the 10th power.
And that will be extracted from the show. It will probably get posted. No, we are having some fun here on a Friday, and we always wind down Friday with our guy, Matt Vrzal, former Husker, and Paisan's Pizzeria owner. Matt, good morning.
Morning, boys. How you doing?
I'm good, Matty. How are you, bud?
I would just interview her.
I think so, too.
So, you know what's funny, and Andrew doesn't quite know this about you yet, for as firm and fair as you are with adults, you are a sucker for kids, right? It's like the gentle giant loves him some kids.
Well, in certain instances, I don't feel one of the two parents will provide enough discipline in that scenario.
Oh, wow.
Dude, I have to be the friend, and then when they start acting crazy, then I'm like, all right, this ain't how it goes.
That's what we're on this morning already, Matty. I was so happy that you were back in town.
Yeah, I know. Well, I mean, you should be. But, you know, I got one that says, oh, man, I want a job, I want a job, I want a job. I'm like, great, come down and see me. We'll get you one of them.
Now,
I'll make an exception.
Now, wait a minute. Stop.
I'll let you work in the summer.
How many times did you cancel on him, Matty?
No. I was there the whole time, baby.
How many times did you say you couldn't do today? I'm gonna hold you to this. This may get personal. How many times did you say you couldn't do today?
I said I gave him an option in the same day.
How many? No. I'm not pausing. The question is, how many times did you say you couldn't do a particular day?
Once.
Are you serious about that?
I'm not sure. I deleted his number, so I can't look back through it.
Okay. All right. Well.
Are you sure about that?
Yeah, I hope you're laughing because I joke about a lot of things. This ain't one of them, Matty. Yeah, there you go. Because I'm not playing with this one.
I just rev it up.
Okay. All right. Now we can go back to being normal people because I was about to be pissed here for a second.
No, I didn't cancel on him. I found it.
So how was getting back acclimated to work from? I got to move on because I'm gonna be pissed. How was getting acclimated, coming back from Chicago, getting back acclimated to work?
Oh, it's just off the plane into the work. Super easy.
So we have a mutual. I'm not gonna give all the context clues. So you are perfect on purpose, right? Like that's a standard. And there are some kids, I think, who you do a lot of work for you, whose parents you let know ahead of time, hey, it's all fun and games until, right? There's a standard to uphold. Well, when you heard Coach Rhule say, hey, as iron sharpens iron and guys got to be accountable and coaches can't be mad about, how they're coached on the field or what I say to them, did you feel like he was talking to the coaches or was he talking to the players?
Both. He was talking to everybody. I mean, he don't. So I was there yesterday. I was a practice.
Attaboy.
Are we ever going to get this feedback stuff fixed out? It's just rattling my eardrum.
Well, Sasha is here. I know you're kind of a fan more than you are Shane, so maybe she can help. He's having some feedback.
In the rankings, it's Sash, Shane,
and everybody else.
And then, yeah.
Okay.
Right.
All right. That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not offended this
but
time.
No, it was impressive that the expectation of everything was there was no, you weren't getting a free pass and getting off like, oh, you're okay, you're a coach, you're this, you're that.
Yeah.
It was everything. Like the coaches were disciplined as much too.
Wasn't that crazy?
No, it's not. That's what I've always been used to. Like that's what, you know, now we at Nebraska never saw it, but when you get older and you talk to your coach and they'll tell you like the behind closed doors meetings were just like knocked down.
Oh yeah, we used to hear about Coach Osborne and Coach McBride and stuff like that. Yeah, you're right. Good point.
Or even, hey, you know, Milt, you told us your guys could do X, Y, and Z. They can't do that.
Mm.
You know, that kind of stuff. But this, and he didn't give an F. Like he lit them up in front of recruits. Now there's a certain couple coaching staffs that visit down there that feel very comfortable, like they're out on the field far too much for being high school coaches. Like maybe slow your roll a little bit, move off to the side, and let them work. But no, it was fun. I saw Big Wayne Harris and Killer Keith and Baron Miles, and the big boss came over. I got to see Trev for a little bit, so it was fun to be down there.
Hey, so that's the first one you've seen live in a while, right?
Since they patted me down with Callahan.
Okay. How did you
a brick phone that they thought was a recording device?
How did you like the crispness in which they moved? Because I think that's actually there's something to that.
Oh yeah, it's well-run businesses operate in an organized form. That's a business. You can call it college football and amateurism and all that stuff and blah, 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 blah. It's a business. And those are your employees, and that's how they have to work. And if you hold that expectation of them, that's how it will go. And that's what they will expect, and that's how they will want to live their life. I was really impressed. Like I like how the secondary coach, I believe his name is Cooper.
Isn't he he's something else?
Nope. He's a very much smaller, much more tanned, passive aggressive version of me. Like
weird. You like him. You know what? You're right. There are some weird, eerie mannerisms.
Here's the deal. Here's the best deal. So he goes. So they get out the jump, right? They're going. Like we're about to hit. And so they're running drills, and he goes, "Hey, X, oh no, sorry, we're hitting over there. I know why you're not in there now. I know you stay over there. You stay on the side. We're hitting right now. You stay there." And I was like, "Oh, this is great." I was like, "This is fantastic."
What'd you
just passive aggressively called out every portion of that kid's manhood.
Yep.
Verse, what'd you make of the O-line? Like when you were there and you watched how the O-line was going about their business, a smaller group, but Coach Rhule likes the size of the group. And then even him after practice saying that Bryce is an NFL guy, because if you would have said that at the back end of last year, I'm sure people would have laughed at you.
And, you know, all cards on the table, I probably would have been leading that charge. But he has done some soul searching, because the kid that practiced yesterday, wickedly impressive. Like now he is lean, like he's leaned up a lot, but his feet were really nice. He was, you know, had some attitude to him, like was kind of getting into it with some people. And I just thought I was really impressed with with the different player he has become, probably in more of like a man, like he's matured.
Mm-hmm. How about how lean he was?
Buddy, you turn sideways, you might miss it.
Right?
but he'll fight. Like, he's fighting now. Now, I don't know on the top end of like how some of the dudes he's playing. It's like I kind of lost track. They were going so fast of what group is what group, and are we ones, are we twos, are we threes? But he was consistent. Like the consistent thing was his footwork. Like, footwork was always on point. Like, didn't take bad steps. Got his hands out of whack a couple times, but still fought. Like, didn't give up. Just kept fighting.
Hard not. Be honest, right? And you've been the most fair, I think, and firm at the same time. I was going to say toughest, but how hard is it now when I tell you, hey, man, it's hard for me to be objective? Like, do you kind of get it now?
I'm not in it like you are, though. Like, I don't have a son that could potentially be there. So I get it. I see where you're coming from, because listen, you have a lot of factors playing in this. It's your alma mater. It's your kid. You do Nebraska radio coverage. You do shows about the team. Not saying anything about anything, but if your son would make an adult decision, he would choose not to go there. You got a problem on the back end. Like, you got big. Like, if you thought people were getting after Cluster, like, good luck. But
hey, thanks, buddy.
Put factors into it. But when you watch it, the only way we're going to be able to judge it is when the product hits the field.
I got you.
Mm-hmm. And when it gets to what they're doing is right. What that results to, though, I don't know.
Yeah, that's how. Yeah, I'm with you. That's pretty good, man.
Yeah, Verse, nice work there.
I may bring you back on Monday. Will you come back on Monday?
What's Monday?
Is this a different day to do the show?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right, thanks.
All right.
Thanks for your permission, buddy.
Hey, you just look at that text I sent you, though.
Uh-oh.
Oh, man.
I'll see you at 11:05.
See you, Verse. Matt Vrzal,
This
Bison's Pizzeria owner and former Husker offensive lineman. If you've been hurt by anything in that conversation, maybe call Dire Law, right, DB? Because Dire Law can be the one you can count on.
Absolutely.
With the helping hand.
393. Oh, I'm so mad at this dude. 7529, call Dire Law. If there's personal injury, which may happen at 11:05, we'll be out at 156th and Center, and we need some witnesses. You stop on out and see the fine folks at Dire Law, trusted professionals. They can take care of you and take care of any workers' comp issues, because it will be on his property. Call the professionals at Dire Law or visit dire.law.
We'll see you next week. Thanks for joining us.